charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient chart. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. And every thread in the press. Wow! Yowza!
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hello, I'm Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast. The year is 1998.
Yep, this is the podcast where we look back through our metaphorical Ray-Bans at a year in musical history via the Australian Recording Industry Association charts, also known as the ARIAs, and ask what shit was going on.
Absolutely. So, look, 1998, let's paint the scene, let's paint the picture, let's have a look.
Yes.
For those, some news, we try and, I think I've failed in the past of trying to sort of paint the scene. So, this year, I can say something,
Sure.
I think. Hopefully I'm not treading on your foot, on your sort of, toes, Tom. But what I will say is 27th of March this year, the FDA approved Viagra for use for erectile dysfunction. So what a great year, what a great year.
And every shit comedian and shitty TV writer sat back in their chair and thought, well, I'm going to take 2 years off because the jokes write themselves.
They do write
from
themselves,
now on, and
absolutely.
Yep.
For sure. And
But they were all men, by the way.
They were.
I'm not talking about women. Women can't do comedy, as everyone knows.
And which is why we had to kick out we had a third person in the sort of the demo version of Sunglasses at Night, and she just made no funny jokes, so we kicked her out. Not really, of course. It's we. This isn't a comedy podcast, obviously. It's just general observations about real stuff. There's no jokes in this.
That's right.
So look, anyway, interestingly, Tom, why I want to bring this up is because it's sort of actually 1998 Viagra approval. It actually connects to a current day event, kind of. So, are you a fan of Nicki Minaj?
Let's say, for the purposes of this argument, that I am.
Good. That's good to see. So, because Nicki Minaj, she, I don't know, we might get to talk about it one day in the podcast. I don't know whether she's got a number one hit. I'm not sure, but she might well do. She dropped a bombshell earlier this year, Tom, when she, and look, I think that people are not taking us seriously enough on this, where she declared that what happened was, I think it was a cousin of hers, was going to get married. And just prior to the wedding, the fiancé, he got the double dose vaccine for COVID-19. And you know what one of the side effects was for him getting the vaccine, Tom?
I do, but tell me anyway.
Erectile dysfunction. So apparently,
I believe not just that, but didn't his balls also swell up?
His balls, he couldn't get an erection, and his balls swelled up. Now, the reason this is interesting, Tom, is because that. Do you know who makes Viagra?
Nicki Minaj?
Pfizer. You know what else they make?
The Pfizer vaccine?
They do. Now, Nicki Minaj has blown the doors wide open on this. I think what she's trying to say here, Tom, is that Pfizer concocted the coronavirus in a lab. Yep. Then they conveniently had a cure that they were the vaccine that they could sell people. And then that made them flaccid as hell. So then they could also on-sell them some Viagra. So Nicki Minaj has dropped that bombshell, and I think she's been silenced, Tom. I wouldn't be surprised if she winds up dead soon from blowing the doors off this whole coronavirus thing as being a massive scam invented by Pfizer to get people to take Viagra. Seems pretty realistic. There's a chance this podcast will be removed from Facebook or anything else for peddling conspiracy content. This is not me saying this. I don't believe this at all. No. This is Nicki Minaj saying that. So back then in 1998, Pfizer started this whole Viagra. How can we sell more? Let's get coronavirus happening scandal.
Yes, they're playing the long game.
They were, very much so. It took them, 23 years, but I think it's paying dividends now. So good.
That's right.
So that's some big news from then, the old Viagra. What else happened in 98? Must have been something else.
Nothing as exciting as that. Google was launched.
Oh.
Yep. A couple of guys in a basement somewhere, the usual dot-com boom story.
Just said that whatever they had at the time. What was it?
We want to take over the world, but in a completely benign way that's all about feelings and
like web crawler. What sort of search engines did they have back then? Some dog shit that didn't work at all. So you type in Jurassic Park, and there'd be no responses.
Maybe they were just drunk one night and they were trying to come up with a worse company name than Yahoo for a joke, you know. And then one guy was like Google, and the other guy was like, "That's crazy, but I bet you couldn't come up with a more dog shit logo than Yahoo." And he was like, "Hold my beer, I've got 5 different coloured child's crayons in front of me,
and we can work that.
The shittest font ever drawn." Speaking of computers, Apple launched the first iMac G3.
Oh yeah,
the original, the one that looks like a blue plastic jelly bean type.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I think Dawson on an episode of Dawson's Creek requested that. So yeah,
in 2021 dollars, it cost $4,500, and in 2021 computer horsepower terms, it was about as powerful as the thing that unlocks your car. But it did look cool at the time. In '98, computers only came in 2 colours: beige if they were new, or smoker's teeth yellow if they were old. Bill Clinton was the second US president to be impeached, although it was only about pretending he didn't get a gobby, not committing treason or staging a fascist coup because he was hung like an acorn or something like that, just to pick an example out of my hat. But yeah, if you weren't watching the news a lot in '98, it was pretty funny at the time. The modern day equivalent would be like, it's really hard to come up with one. I spent ages trying to figure this out, and this is a bit of a stretch anyway, but it would be like, you'd have to imagine, say the internet broke down completely, so nobody could access the internet at all. And then Joe Biden got sued for $1 billion by a black guy, and Joe Biden called him a liar on the stand in court, and then the guy turned out to have a video of himself eating Joe Biden's ass.
Yep.
And then the internet stayed broken for 9 months, so nobody talked about anything else except Joe Biden felching on TV for that entire time. And every baby boomer and preschooler in the entire world had to get felching explained to them on a daily basis, whether they cared to hear about it or not.
Yep.
So it was a bit like that. But, yeah.
Well, it pretty much was, because this news, we work obviously the 24-hour news cycle these days, Tom, where when obviously Donald Trump was in power, he said something that was completely insane on a daily basis. But people had forgotten about it 2 days later, whereas...
Or 1 day later, because he said the next insane
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
But with Clinton, everyone had to deal with this for a long time. So what's Monica Lewinsky up to these days?
I think they've just made a new, one of those... I never watched it, but that American... The one they did about that TV miniseries they did about OJ. They've just done a new one about her. So she's being played by a some acclaimed celebrity.
Who's playing Bill Clinton?
Oh, bloody hell! This is so irritating. I should have checked this because I had read it. It's just on.
Is it Vin Diesel?
It's not.
It's not.
It's not Vin Diesel.
Okay, that's a shame. I want to be watching.
Anyway,
hopefully The Rock or someone that used to be involved in wrestling, or Vin Diesel. That'd be good. So
that's disappointing.
A lot of news that year. Harrison Ford was named People Magazine's sexiest man.
Yes.
Which obviously was enough.
He's no Nick Nolte. I'll say that.
He's not Nick.
He's no Prince of Tides.
He's no Prince of Tides. But it's probably around this time that Ally McBeal was doing the rounds, which enabled him to get married to Callista Flockhart off the strength of his... Do People's magazines... I mean, are people renowned for announcing the sexiest man of the year?
Apparently they are. Why it keeps getting... I think it's one of those slow news week things that gets chucked on. I think I saw somewhere on the internet that Paul Rudd had been named sexiest man of the year this year.
Okay.
So it must have been just like last week or something. So it must have been a slow news week this week as well.
Absolutely. So
you can guarantee that if the president had got caught being felched by a black guy, they would not be talking about who was sexiest man of the year this week.
Yeah, definitely. So, which is surprising they'll even know that Harrison Ford was the sexiest man that year, because, as you said, Bill Clinton just dominated the news headlines for a long time.
The monoculture. You just wouldn't believe how long shit was in the news for.
Tom, we do have 2 listeners in Finland. I have looked at the data on our Podbean account. There's someone that listens to this in Finland. So some news for the Euros. The Europeans, that is, the euro currency was announced this year.
Yeah, that's right.
It was the beginning. So 1998, the beginning of the New World Order, Tom. One single currency for the whole world.
That's right.
Control everyone. So good stuff. So look, it's handy. I've been to Europe. It's pretty good to cross over the border and not have to change your money every 3 seconds. So That's pretty handy. You do come across a couple of countries where they just don't care. They just want that. They don't want it. They don't want any part of it. They're
really?
like,
Okay.
Switzerland, they don't want any part of it. They don't fucking want that shit.
Britain.
Yeah, all those Scandinavian countries.
The weird, crazy ones like the UK.
Yep, but the Finland, the Finnish, those guys, I love those guys.
My brother went to Finland and he had a great time there, and I lived with a Finnish guy called Mika, and he was lovely.
Yeah, I've been to Helsinki. Enjoy it. Keep on listening, you Finnish guys. Love your work. And you also have a word for proximity awkwardness, which I find to be fantastic. So there's a word in the language for something where you feel the awkwardness of being in the close proximity. Sorry, you feel vicarious embarrassment for being in the proximity of something extremely awkward. So look, power to that. We all have that feeling at some time. So look, that's good. That's what's happening in the world of news. Biggest film this year, Titanic.
Yes, as we will discuss.
We'll find out soon, yeah. So, look, Titanic was, so I think it was on, I think we spoke about this last week, Tom, it was at the Village 4 in Launceston for, I think, 4 years, I think. So it sort of lasted the whole Olympic period.
Definitely quite a while.
On for quite some time. James Cameron obviously directed that. Biggest film all time in box office, only to be broken by Avatar. He's another James Cameron film. So so James Cameron's at the point now where he can do anything because obviously, you got two of the biggest films of all time, 1 and 2 from that dude. So that's why Avatar 2, it's the Chinese democracy of films at this point, Tom. It's been in the works for about 2009, I think Avatar came out. That's 12 years. Don't know when this thing's going to come out. They just let him do anything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if when Avatar 2 does come out, if Axl Rose isn't actually in the lead role. I think James Cameron can just do anything he wants. I don't know whether he's taking as much coke as Francis Ford Coppola was during the sort of Apocalypse Now days, but I hope he is, and I hope that he just churns out some unwatchable piece of shit.
Yeah, that would be more entertaining than what I suspect it's going to be like. But
just really boring.
Hey, yeah. On the other hand, he has made the biggest movie in the world, 3 times now? So
yeah, look, I can't doubt the guy. I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing, so I shouldn't be too critical. But look, don't know whether this one's going to be for me, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, anyway, Titanic, biggest film of the year. It was on forever. So that's the news and film action. Shall we get into the songs,
sure.
Tom?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So for another 5 or 6 weeks at the start of 1998, just 6 more weeks of Aqua, Dr. Jones. So
just the 6 more weeks.
People didn't have enough of that. And as we learnt last year, at the very end, there were 3 weeks of Barbie Girl, and 6 weeks of this. What's the better song? 3 weeks of Barbie Girl, 7 weeks of Dr. Jones. Is Dr. Jones twice as good a song?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Barbie Girl might be better. Maybe it's hard to describe what's better.
Yeah, exactly.
I could make a whole bunch of obvious analogies by just saying, 2 horrible, disgusting things and trying to pick which one's better.
Yeah, look, you're right. Is it better, if you're at a bar, is it better to be punched in the head and fall back and hit your head on the bar and go into a coma? Or is it better to be, glassed and then sort of not in a coma, but sort of be permanently disfigured? I'm not sure which one of those is better. But, so look, Dr. Jones, I think it's about the sexiest man in the world in 1998, Harrison Ford, isn't it? Is this song about Indiana Jones?
That's what they said, but who freaking knows?
Yeah, not sure.
Knows?
Who's got any idea? Look, I don't think we have to talk about this anymore. Fuck this song's pretty shitty. But yeah, look, I don't know. I don't think I put it in last week's playlist, but check out the pre-Aqua band, that Incy Wincy Spider song, because that makes this look like fucking, genius. Like, that is so dog shit. I can't believe that they were given another opportunity to record music, to be honest, but look, that's okay. The one thing I will say about Dr. Jones is it doesn't have the dude going, "Oh, okay, Barbie, let's go party." Yes. Like, he doesn't have like a real fucking annoying bit in there that makes you...
of that part.
No, not at all. Terrible. Look. So anyway, first new song of the year, 15th of February for 4 weeks, is Celine Dion, Tom, My Heart Will Go On. And this, of course, featured in the film Titanic.
In fact, it kind of surprised me in the sense that it was only in the charts for 4 weeks because Titanic was so huge. The fact that it was 3 weeks less than fucking Dr. Jones by Aqua for crying out loud.
Absolutely. So look, straight off the bat, this is the theme from Titanic, and it's Celine. So even without having to listen to a note, you know this is going to be fucking boring as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying. Because Titanic's set in, 1912 or 11, whenever the boat sank, a long time ago. So they had to go for something very of its time. Like, they haven't tried to make it modern at all. It's just a very ballady...
it's just a generic...
Just pretty shit. So, look... I don't know. Not really feeling this at all. You've seen Titanic, Tom, I assume?
I have, yeah.
Can you see yourself ever watching Titanic ever again in your life?
Well, for a long time I was proud of myself because I managed to never have seen it through all of the massive period of popularity and then just, the fact that it was on TV every month for most of my life. But, I did watch it about a year ago just out of curiosity.
Oh, okay.
It was better than I had expected it to be from all that build-up of...
Look, exactly. I think you just assume it's going to be total trash.
It's not good, but he is definitely good at making
drama
entertainment out of not much. I mean, Avatar, let's face it, wasn't very...
wasn't very good, no.
No, but like the guy said, I dare you just... I was watching some TV show recently and he just said, I dare you to tell me what either of these two characters' names were. And he just had the two characters from Avatar. Even I can remember what the characters from friggin' Titanic were called. Yep. And I haven't even watched it just because it passed into... At least it was in cultural memory at the time. And this song was huge. Did a song play in Avatar? I can't remember. I don't know.
No, and that's the problem.
Who did the score? I don't know. Some
Yeah.
person. I remember Sigourney Weaver smoked a cigarette at some point, but yeah.
That's about it, exactly.
I quite like James Cameron, but I think you could make a pretty good argument that he likes the technology involved in filmmaking as much as the actual filmmaking itself. Correct. But on the other hand, he did direct fucking Aliens.
Yep.
So,
Look, that's one of the finest films ever made, so I'm not going to shit on James Cameron because Aliens is very good. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, I'd watch that every day for the rest of my life if I had to. So.
At the time that came out, that was the most expensive film ever made, and then it made world record profits. Even Titanic massively defeated expectations. Long before it was finished, it was the most expensive film of all time, and then it crossed this budgeting line where the only way it could make a profit would be to be the most expensive film ever made. Yep. I mean, the most profitable film ever made. And, talk about setting a high bar for yourself. Yep. Not only did it do that, but it won 11 fucking Oscars and gave a generation of teenagers with VCRs something to frot the couch with. It was unisex.
It's true, absolutely. Kate Winslet did get her cans out in that.
And all the girls loved Leo as well. They all wanted to be propped up at the front of the boat and then wipe the inside of a condensation car window.
Look, it's win-win. Look, and I think that was it. Do you think... Look, I assume that the whole drawing of the... Leo doing the drawing thing, it's very gratuitous, but it's sort of like, look, this film's pretty boring. Dudes are going to fucking hate this. Should we get some cans in there?
Well, that is kind of James Cameron's sort of... He's got that Spielbergy knack of he can fit a bit of something in for everyone. Even Aliens has got bits. It's got maternal stuff. It's got a child. It's got a cute little kid in it. That it's got a. Alien has a cat in it.
It does. Yeah.
He's not just.
No.
It's so much harder to pull this stuff off than you would have thought.
Oh, definitely.
But still, I'm not saying it's a great movie.
No. But look, I think that what I will say is that if I had to, because the film's probably 2.5 hours. It's pretty long, isn't it?
It was, yeah. I remember when it came out on VHS. Yeah. It was on a 2 VHS.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You would have had to have flipped that Laserdisc over, and it would have been 2 Laserdiscs. Look, I think I would probably rather just watch Titanic for 3 hours than listen to this song on repeat for 3 hours. I think if there were the two options,
or listen to one 60-minute Celine Dion album. Exactly. I might be prejudiced against. Love ballads. I will say, by the standards of some of the stuff we've heard of hers, this is a bit more memorable. At least it kind of builds to an emotive climax. Yeah. And it reminds people of the scene in the film. And it's the heart was the name of the jewel thing that she wears around her neck and stuff. And so it's got it does have a sort of resonance. It's not like they just went, this sounds like it's vaguely about love, we'll chuck this in the film.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you think people liked Titanic so much, given that, spoiler alert, the boat sinks? Everyone, before you go to watch the film, unless you're a fucking moron, you know that boat's going down. So, at the end, it's like, okay, the boat sunk. Everyone dies. We know that.
I know. People got so sick of it at the time, 9 months after it had come out, that you would occasionally see someone wearing a shirt that said, "It sank, get over it."
Yeah.
Because when you get to a point where people are selling clapback shirts at your cultural phenomenon, but it really was, and not only was it a cultural phenomenon, but it's conveniently non-copyrightable because it's a true event using a real boat. Yep. So, in addition to all the official merchandise and the VCRs and the soundtracks and shit, there were Titanic-themed restaurants and stage plays, T-shirts, video games, theme park rides, documentaries out the a-hole. And at one point, a group of investors were just going to recreate the entire boat from the ground up at life size. You'd think they would have learned one lesson from the film, but apparently, I guess not.
Well, isn't Clive Palmer still building the Titanic too? Isn't that still happening now?
You never know with Clive whether he means a theatre restaurant dining experience or whether he means an animatronic dinosaur-related Titanic ride.
Because from all reports, he is building the Titanic too. Any chance they'll turn that into a film? So when on the maiden voyage, Clive Palmer's Titanic 2 going from the Gold Coast to Cairns inevitably sinks because it's built completely dog shit. Will James Cameron go, sign me up for that sequel? I can do that. I can make the Titanic 2 film.
It sounds like a comedy. I think it's got legs, and I think an Australian director on the way up should make it.
Oh, absolutely. Probably the dude that's making that Martin Bryant film. He might be involved in that, I think.
And Clive Palmer could show up as a guest appearance as the iceberg.
Yeah. Look,
he's fat. If you don't know who Clive Palmer is, he's a big fat guy.
He's a big fat guy. He could be the iceberg. We can definitely do that.
Sorry. Let's move on quickly.
It's fine. So look, the song "My Heart Will Go On" it's not being sung from the perspective of the Leonardo DiCaprio character, is it?
No.
Because I just thought, because he's dead, so for his heart to go on, is it donated to medical research or something? I don't really know, but I'm not quite sure. I guess it's not really sung from any characters, but maybe the Kate Winslet character, or is it
Possibly.
just a general sort of My Heart?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with it.
Yeah, so,
sort of beige.
Look, this song was written by James Horner, who did the score for this film, I think, as well.
Oh, okay.
And he, unfortunately, died in a plane crash in 2015. So when you asked about the music for Avatar before, Tom, I think he was involved in writing the score for the original Avatar.
Okay.
But they'll have to get someone else for number 2 now because he unfortunately passed away. Could James Cameron turn his plane crash into a film?
Probably.
With Celine doing the soundtrack.
It would cost $280 million.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So obviously that's sad that he won't be back for Avatar 2. But look, obviously his score and this song was very, very successful because the soundtrack for the film sold 15 million copies for the Titanic soundtrack.
Wow.
And Celine's album that this song was on sold 30 million copies. Wow. So that's an absolute fuck ton.
So she got 2 digs at
She did,
as
yeah.
well.
Now, what's completely bizarre about that is that they even released a sequel to the soundtrack. So they didn't make a Titanic 2 film, but they released the soundtrack which sold so many. They said, we need to make a fucking sequel soundtrack. So they released Back to Titanic, also in 1998.
Music inspired by?
Well, I think it was because all the songs that featured in the film were obviously on the original Titanic soundtrack. So I'm not sure what they
Plus
dredged
a whole
up.
bunch of others that weren't on it as well.
So it didn't quite sell 15 million, but it did sell a couple of 100,000, like a few 100,000 copies. So people were so desperate for Titanic movie, they were like, we need a sequel soundtrack to this. So look,
if you think you're getting bored of hearing the word Titanic already, then imagine how it felt at the time.
Yeah,
You've got to
exactly.
hear this for another 6 months.
Well, that's what it was like in real life. It's like, I'm fucking so tired of this. It's like, well, it's March and you're going to be tired. By December, it's going to be fucking insane. So, look, does this song have any legs these days? Can you see this being revisited, revitalised, reused in any other context? Can you envisage it sort of being used for an erectile dysfunction ad in the future where they change the lyrics to "My cock will go on"? Do you think? Can you see that happening?
I think so. I mean, they could get together with Pfizer, presumably.
Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. It's a tie-in to the Nicki Minaj conspiracy theory. It's a tie-in, but yeah, certainly I could see that happening. Probably with some Euro beats though. I think that would probably. I think Tom. This podcast would self-implode or something would happen. The world would collapse in on itself if we were to do a Eurobeats cover of this song. If we were to just take... Because there's no drums in this, so we can just take the original song, probably pump it through like some auto-tune.
There must
so
have
that
been,
Celine's auto-tuned.
Someone must have done it.
Well, if they haven't, let's do it. Let's add some Eurobeats to this. And then... Because if we could get our own song to number one... and we had to talk about it ourselves, that would be insane.
You're still thinking in old world terms, Ben. Nobody wants number ones anymore. You want the song to be featured in a
film
Viagra commercial.
Well, yeah,
that goes viral, and then
true.
a bunch of 12-year-olds make TikTok videos out of it for a week. Then you can be, make $100 million.
That's true.
There you go. Your career's done. You don't even need to get on the charts anymore.
That's all right. All right. So we'll try and get a "My Cock Will Go On" Eurobeats cover of this onto TikTok.
And remember, if your cock goes on too long, see a doctor.
That is correct, absolutely. Nicki Minaj's cousin doesn't know about that though. So interestingly, like Celine Dion, she was the youngest of 14 kids.
Wow.
So obviously, being the youngest of 14, she had a lot of older siblings to sort of pass on their knowledge and whatnot. So I'm sure that I can't even imagine what it would be like to be in a family with that many kids. So. But look, she obviously pulled through, became a celebrity, and honestly, she made so much fucking money that she could probably buy all 14 of her siblings a rather nice house.
Quite possibly.
And, that would be okay. So, yeah, look, she was when she was growing up, the family didn't have a lot of money. I think they were quite poverty-stricken. 14 kids, I can understand that. It's very expensive to raise. By her own account, she had a happy home, but at one point she was sleeping in a drawer. Can James Cameron make a film about Celine Dion
probably
sleeping in a drawer?
I reckon.
Yeah, probably. Look, weirdly, she met her future husband when she was 12 and he was 38. Now, that's a red flag for me.
That's creepy as hell, although at least he waited until she was 20, supposedly, to begin their relationship, which makes him a real grave robber compared to, like, the Rolling Stones or someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were married until he died in 2014, so I guess there's a lesson there, Ben, which is marry your manager because it always turns out well.
It absolutely
If there's one
does.
lesson we've learned, it is get involved with someone in a financially dominant position above you when you're starting out, and there's a 20-year age gap, and it'll pretty much 100% of the time turn out fine.
Look, he managed a career to success, so that's very good.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was his third marriage, and the second one to an artist that he'd been managing.
Okay.
But still, they were together for, 16 years, so that's been something.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's good. Definitely no child grooming going on there. I think it's all fine.
I'm sure
look, he's in the ground now, so you can't defame the dead. So, I hope, but don't take offence, though. I think the dude sounds pretty... I'm creeping out on this, I think, a little bit, so I don't know. But look, all that aside, any lyrical highlights for this? There must be.
Well, this is absolute bollocks, but like most of Celine's stuff, but at least she didn't write it, I guess. Love was when I loved you. One true time I'd hold to. In my life will always go on. Now, Ben, we've done some corkers on this show so far, but can you recall hearing a single line as sub-basement car park piss poor as love was when I loved you? I know she's French-Canadian, but she's been singing in English for a fucking long time.
Yeah.
And that was written by someone... Look, Lord
Love is... Yeah, look...
Love was when I loved you.
Yeah, that's absolutely terrible. Look, I can't believe that there must have been someone in the studio that was like, whoa, hold on, wait. can we do better than this? Because James Cameron, I see him as somewhat of a perfectionist, yes? Like, he makes these films, he spends a lot of money and time on them. So someone comes in with a single for the film and says this, and he's like listening to it going, "Love is when I love you." What? We've got to be able to do better than that. But look, obviously,
knowing James Cameron, it's possible that he only listened to the first 10 seconds of the song.
He just went, "That'll
had
do."
to take a phone call on a brick-sized mobile phone with another brick-sized mobile phone pressed to the other ear, and he didn't have time to listen to the rest of it.
Exactly. Look, he was probably working on Terminator 3 at the same time. Did he direct that one, Terminator 3?
No.
He didn't? Okay, he wasn't. He probably, he was out by then, wasn't he?
He did 1 and 2, a.k.a. the good ones, and
Yeah, exactly.
wisely fucked off. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's
for
move
sure.
on quickly. Hang on, what have we got?
10 million on Spotify doesn't surprise me. 2
No.
cents, because there's a trillion of these out there, so don't waste your time, because it's, I don't know, terrible. All right, so up next for 1 week, 15th of March, Run DMC V versus Jason Nevins. It's like that. And that's the way it is.
It sure
wow.
is.
Now, Tom, it's like that. Debut single from Run DMC.
Yep.
Which was released back in 1983. And then it was remixed by house DJ Jason Nevins, obviously, in 97. And then the version originally released then, just as like a 10-inch single. And eventually became a sleeper hit in 1998.
Yeah, in this sense, I think sleep hit, you mean trashy nightclub, dance floor filler hit.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at what point did a dude just remixing, and I even use the term remixing here very loosely, I think what he's done here, he's just sort of he's just added like a dance beat to this kind of, but I think the song itself is almost the same. I think there's a bit where I think it says like, Run DMC and Jam Master Jay run in like a chipmunk voice.
Yep.
I think he's added that, sped it up to the...
that's in the original... Yeah, I think that's like a sample of them. Like, I agree, he's really done fuck all.
He's done sweet fuck all here. And when did... Yeah, so there's a couple of questions here. One, when did verses become the thing? Like, I've remixed... It's me versus... I've remixed his song as verses.
Well, 10 years later, it was collabing.
Yep.
And then another 10 years later, now it's just X.
Nowadays it would be
Run DMC X Jason Nevins.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the X in there for multiplied. You've got the you've got the collab. You've got the featuring. But back in 1998, versus was the way to go. So it's this person versus that.
If I get drunk at a party at someone's place now and I chuck up on the carpet, I don't bother trying to clean it up. Just the next day, I just send a message saying, "Sorry, that was Tom Vaughan X." Lounge room carpet.
Yeah, and they know what you mean.
They know what I mean.
Exactly right. But exactly. But this I don't know. I'm not feeling the verses. Verses is like sort of two, like like Muhammad Ali versus like Joe Frazier.
It's oppositional.
It is.
Like even X kind of looks cool because it's like they're multiplying each
together.
other, and the whole is better than the sum of the parts. Exactly. Versus just sounds like kind of what this actually is accurately, e.g. one person having a deleterious effect on a song written by somebody else.
Yeah. Look, power to Jason Nevins, because he's got a number one single to his name. Like, he's gonna when he dies, he's gonna go in the graves with like on his tombstone it's gonna be like number one, recording artist. And so he gets that you can't take that away from him to have that sort of number one song. But as you mentioned, he's done absolutely fuck all to this.
Yeah.
And look, he did it again. He also did Jason Nevins versus Danny Minogue.
Yep.
Touch Me Like That.
I think he may have even done it again with another. I think he did Tricky as well. He did another Run DMC song. And then a bunch of other ones on his Wikipedia page that were so tedious I couldn't be bothered writing down. I mean,
Jesus.
Some people might say that at least he didn't change the title to Shits Like Hats and then release it under his own name on Puff Daddy's Bad Boys label.
That's true.
And claim that it was his own song.
Yep.
But those people probably didn't have to listen to this 4,000 times at shitty nightclubs for a decade, or they wouldn't be defending him. He can get in the dock next to Entrance, frankly, at the next musical week.
Look,
there are some things that I am impossible to be objective about.
Look, this isn't quite as bad as Entrance Staying Alive. But
because
it's a very fine line.
The original song is better, I think. But
of course,
anyway.
yeah, absolutely.
In my personal opinion.
Sorry, it is, Jesus. And that's the thing. Like, if someone said, "Would you rather listen to Run DMC?" I like that, or would you rather listen to Run DMC versus Jason Nevins? If someone says the latter, for me, that's a red flag. I don't think think I'm inviting them around to my house ever again for any sort of, and I know people say, oh, you shouldn't judge someone based on their musical choice, but it's a decision between something that's good and something that's objectively terrible. So I think, you can judge, you can't really tell. Look, what I'm trying to say is that, the song sucks. Sorry. Look, Run DMC, on the other hand, obviously very influential. I think this is true, that they were the first musical group to get a sponsorship with a sporting company, being Adidas.
With any company.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that I think an Adidas rep or something went to one of their concerts or something.
They took him to the...
everyone outside the gig was wearing the Adidas tracksuits and they're like, oh, fuck, maybe pumping money into, sports teams or sports stars as sponsorship. This is sort of... And obviously, these days that sounds completely insane because every musical artist has some sort of sponsor. I think music isn't even a musician's main pursuit these days. It's like, let's record some songs so we can get a sponsorship deal to sell like a fucking perfume or some bullshit shoes or like a baguette or, like fucking everybody is just on Instagram going, oh, come and buy my fucking makeup line.
And there's a sort of slightly dorky like, it's easy to go, oh, look, they sold out. Why would you be happy about that? But, like, there's a kind of dorky sort of earnestness to it because they'd written a song called Adidas before that. Like, they just wrote it because they all wore Adidas all the time and liked the shoes so much. Exactly. And then must have thought, oh, why don't we get Adidas to see if we can get some money out of this? But, it's not like they did it, custom made it to, and then pretended that they were really into Adidas.
Look, Tom, sometimes selling out is waking up as far as I'm concerned. If you need the cash, it's okay. Look, otherwise... people, their fans are going to buy Adidas based off, the My Adidas song. So they may as well get a cut of the pie, I think. And look, you got to remember, this is a solid 15 years before Korn released that All Day I Dream About Sex bullshit.
Sure.
Which was sort of like another
that
real
was
bad.
Way more embarrassing.
It was, God, terrible. I can't believe that was a real thing, but it was. So.
It's like getting sponsored by, the Coca-Cola and selling the Coca-Cola Corporation selling Lift commercials and doing a heavy metal song called Milk Lemonade Round the Corner Chocolates Mate or something. It's just, just one of those things that could only have existed in about a 2-year-long window.
I feel like it was
doing
dated
it all for the
both
nookie.
by the time they left the studio.
And Ice Cube and Jonathan Davis wearing a kitty fiddler moustache and purple sequined friggin' triple stripe Adidas pants were riding around on giant stretch BMXs round and round in circles on stage during their songs. Yeah. Like, it was. I wouldn't say it was a great time, but it was a time for music. And look, people. I'm sure some people look back on that very fondly. Tom, remember that time when the dude rode that mini bicycle in sequin track pants? I sure do. What can you tell me about the OG song? Oh, I was just going to say that, as you said, it was their debut single in I think it was 84, possibly 83. They were at producer Larry Smith's house. DMC and Rev Run were still teenagers, and they persuaded him to let them rap over a really stark backing beat that he already had going. It's a super basic song, the original, but it was a big hit. It made him famous, and not only that, but it was a massive critical success. It combined rock with rap for the first time, and finally, or the record did, it had, guitar samples and that sort of thing, and finally moved rap away from the slightly cheesy sort of disco, New York disco area, and showed that it could be like loud arena-filling music on its own terms. And he produced their first and second albums, this one self-titled and King of Rock, and as well as Houdini, Curtis Blow, and the Fat Boys, so a lot of seminal early 80s rap groups. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
that's the original.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're obviously very influential. Like, I think that, I think the first hip hop act to chart in the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100 more than one time. So they certainly had a few songs that were up there, and the first hip hop artist with a top 10 rap album. So,
on the mainstream charts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they also, the first hip hop group to sell platinum or multi-platinum. So
Wow.
in terms of like sort of their things that they did way before other people, like these guys were. This is, and we talked in the previous episode about how well, not previous, but a couple of episodes about Vanilla Ice was the first rap single to sort of be a number one. But obviously prior to that, there were more legitimate actual hip hop groups that weren't having number one albums and singles, but certainly selling a lot, and people would sort of really respect Run DMC.
They were like the first sort of crossover.
Oh, definitely.
Like the first rap rock stars, like, that suburban white kids listened to on cassette.
Yeah, definitely.
As I did, which is one of the reasons why it was depressing to hear this in a nightclub.
For
because
sure.
I was, still young enough to remember the time when it was really hard to even get a tape of Run DMC at a record shop, because just rap was still too obscure to get old stuff, like even 5-year-old records or whatever, and then to have it given back to you in this cheesy ass dance floor version.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, please just play the originals.
And of course, and look, Run DMC also featured in probably one of the best films of all time, Crush Groove. Tom. So
I've never seen Crush Groove. Is that a breakdancing type one?
I wouldn't quite say it's the same as Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, but it's a hip hop based. I think it's based on sort of I think it's. Is it a fictitious record label that's very similar to like what am I thinking of? Like probably like an actual sort of hip hop record label of the time.
Okay, yeah.
Probably. Yeah, I can't remember, but I think it's basically like, dudes are running this fictitious record label. What's going to happen?
Yep.
Blah blah blah. So so it's I can't believe I can't remember what like Def Jam. Sorry.
Sorry. Yes, that
slipped my mind for a second. So I think it's basically like a sort of a Def Jam type. Let's make a film about what it was like when we were doing this sort of thing, and then some rap artist show up, etc., etc. So look, it's not totally dog shit, but it's not something you need to rush out and see immediately. One would say. Lyrical highlights, boom, must be.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure whether it's... Like I said, I listened to a fair bit of Run DMC back in the day, of their earlier stuff anyway, but I mean, mostly it was earlier stuff because they stopped recording after a while, but I'm not sure whether it's a Reaganomics thing or whether, like, white radio listeners in the 80s could only handle black voices if they were sort of behaved themselves, or maybe whether, Rev Run and DMC just shared the same life philosophies as Cliff Huxtable of the time, but their early lyrics especially were all pretty wholesome, like like they would do songs about how they don't take drugs and how they don't they play by the rules, and their money was all legitimately earned and that sort of thing. Well,
this was very much, you're right, the Nancy Reagan sort of don't take drugs type thing. Like if you want to get your album sold in actual shops,
and played on normal radio and stuff. Like you couldn't have gangster rap type stuff. Anyway, I mean, like this starts off like "Don't Push Me," by the Grandmaster Flash sort of thing, talking about how tough modern life is and how tough it is to get paid and stuff. But then the latter half of the song is all just real pull yourself up by your bootstraps messages, like when you feel you fail, sometimes it hurts. For a meaning in life is why you search. Take the bus or the train, drive to school or the church. It's like that, and that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how you'd personally drive a bus or a train to a church, but, you get the general gist of what they're saying.
Definitely. I mean,
don't stop whinging. Get out there and fix your own life up. Pull your pants up. Yeah. Stop with that jibbity-jabbity swearing and so forth.
Yeah, look, if you had two jobs, one as a bus driver and one as a train driver, I think you could probably do that. But, but then there'd have to be a train stop right outside the train station.
That's right. The passengers might have something to say about it
exactly.
too, but you never know.
So, Run DMC have 4.3 million listeners on Spotify. That's good. Jason Nevins, 950,000. So still a few.
Too many.
Probably just listening to this and that Danny Minogue song, Touch Me Like That. Which sounds a bit sketchy.
Well, you know what DJs are like. If you were DJing sufficiently large venues before about 2010, you can you can just do that for the rest of your life, apparently, regardless of how good you are. I mean, Paris Hilton slipped through that door.
She did, yeah, absolutely.
She'll be DJing for the rest of her life.
Just somehow people are like, oh, we need more of that. 2 cents on Spotify, probably about what it deserves, I would say. So up next, for 7 weeks, goodness gracious me, All Saints, Never Ever.
Yeah, I had to remind myself of this one. Like, I remember the All Saints, but yeah, I had to, yeah.
Oh, look.
Did you remember this one?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Look, the All Saints they're sort of just an off-brand Spice Girls, let's face it.
Yeah, so. I was going to say it's funny that Spice Girls' debut was called Wannabe because there were an awful lot of wannabes after they came out. Like,
certainly.
I know the idea of a girl group wasn't new, but this particular sort of flavour was, I mean, who was your favourite? I was a big B** Witched fan myself.
Oh, Bewitched were great, yeah, for sure, definitely.
They're still cranking them out in the UK, I think. Oh,
absolutely, they certainly do. Look, who was my favourite? That's a very, very good question. If you're going, see, I'm a big fan of S Club 7, Tom, as you know, but that is a boy-girl combo.
Yes.
So in terms of pure girl group, yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one because there just are so many. But yeah, look, the claim, All Saints, one of their big claims to fame was that they had a lot of famous boyfriends.
Oh,
so the music was really good when most attention is sort of drawn to who are they dating.
Sometimes that's the patriarchy, and sometimes it's just because they're not as interesting as their boyfriends,
Yeah, exactly right. So Melanie, she was dating Stuart Zender from Jamiroquai. So that's the most 90s thing you can imagine. Someone from Jamiroquai and someone from All Saints dating.
That's
Natalie,
90s.
She was dating Liam Howe, the Prodigy.
Yep.
So I'm disappointed there wasn't a Prodigy All Saints mashup. Maybe if he remixed some of their songs, they would have been less shit, perhaps. They married in 2002. And Nicole, firstly, she was with Robbie Williams, who we know is, basically an architect for genocide. And then after that, Oasis lead singer Liam Gallagher, and she had a son with him. So a lot of famous faces within the All Saints camp.
Sorry for Nicole, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. So for sure.
Well, song-wise, it's a slow sort of pop gospel thing about breaking up with a partner.
Yep.
The problem is that gospel as a genre leans unavoidably on actual singing ability and an ability to convey real emotion through, lyrics, however simple.
Yep.
They've got the simple lyrics, but the other two parts are a bit lacking here, which means they just end up sounding a bit like a choir made up of the Spice Girls and an iMac G3 running some early pitch shifting software. I think this is the first one we've listened to so far where I found myself going, I think this has got auto-tune on it.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't, it's got some 1998 equivalent, I think, of,
something that can control the pitch to make it sound
less
shit.
Because it's so stripped down when the girls... It's not like Wannabe where everyone's piling on top of each other and it moves too fast to be able to tell what's going on. That you can clearly see... You can tell who's singing it at any time and the music really leans on their ability to, Anyway.
Absolutely. Look, so they were around for a few years and I think they broke up or split for a while and then they got back together. 2020, last year, April 14, during the COVID pandemic, they recorded a duet cover of Message in a Bottle with Sting. Now, I'm uncertain as to, like other Sting duets, whether this one resulted in a gangbang. We know that Sting, sort of when he does his duets, he loves like him, Rod Stewart, but there are females in this, so I think he's sort of more...
He was well past
male on male
rock
action.
Stars at this age, The only thing that could get him off was a Stewart Adams three-way or a full-length mirror and a 12-hour mandolin box set, I think.
No doubt.
And they did... I do remember they had a pretty big hit with a song called Pure Shores, which I think was on the Beach soundtrack, which was quite popular at one time. I know that's sort of in the UK, Europe and stuff anyway.
And they did a cover of the Red Hot Chili Peppers classic Under the Bridge as well.
Sorry, I forgot that one too. Yeah, that's
where they stripped out, I think, the drug references or tried to make it a bit more sort of, that's okay. That's good times. Does this have any lyrical highlights? I assume that it does. I can't imagine it doesn't. I can't imagine.
Just not to get ahead of myself, but 98's a bit tough. Never ever have I felt so sad. No, sorry. Never ever have I ever felt so sad.
Good.
The way I'm feeling, yeah, you got me feeling really bad.
Good.
You see, this is what I mean. For shit like this to work, you got to either have a better song so that the lyrics don't matter, or if you want it to work as gospel, your voice has got to be powerful enough to fill these cat-ass lyrics with real emotion.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to have to think of a better way to describe the absolute worst black, depressed grief you've ever felt than you got me feeling really bad.
Yep.
Like, I mean, and what did bad rhyme with? Sad.
They do rhyme, Tom, so they're not wrong there.
True. I mean, at least they didn't rhyme bad with bad two more times,
Yeah,
which
that's
puts them
true.
ahead of some of the stuff we've had. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was in the water in '98, but it wasn't a good year for lyrics anyway.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. I mean, you look at sort of someone that does not necessarily gospel, but, you know, we've had Celine earlier on in this episode doing something balladry, you're right. Both songs are boring as all shit, but Celine does have a good voice.
Yes.
And it's the same with when Whitney Houston would enter similar territory.
Totally.
She's got a powerful voice. No one in this group really has the voice to pull this off.
No, or someone like Aretha could belt this out with such kind of raw, you know, kind of cigarette-voiced emotion that it would feel like it meant something, even though the lyrics aren't much to lean on. But yeah, if you've just got sort of four sub-Spice Girl voices, then yeah.
Yeah, and when sub-Spice Girls as well as, I mean, Jesus, they weren't the best singers going around, were they? Fucking hell.
No.
So 1.6 mil for this on Spotify, 2 cents. Yep, that all adds up to me. Anything else to say about this, Tom?
Nah, let's move on.
All right, up next, Shania Twain. You're still the one.
Oh, fuck,
For 4 weeks.
She was so big in this era too.
Now, Shania Twain, she must have sold about 1 billion records. I mean,
fucking hell.
This album that this song was off sold so many fucking albums, and it's weird because
it's Come On Over.
Come On Over, yep.
It was
so
fucking enormous.
this is the only number one from that album we're going to talk about, but there must have been about 5 other songs at the top 10. Cause fuck me, she was absolutely everywhere.
Yes,
for
and she got played
a long time.
in nightclubs too. They played her to dance to and stuff as well. Buddy, you know.
Yep. Look, and
so you're not Brad Pitt.
No.
Sorry. What's that fucking
Man,
song?
I feel like a
Man,
woman.
I feel like a woman. And the other one.
If you're not in it for love, I'm out of here.
No, the one you're not. So you're not Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much.
That don't impress me. There's so many of them. I couldn't. You know, we've just reeled off. I can't remember them. So she was married to Mutt Lange, who produced this album, and he was also the dude that produced fucking AC/DC, Back in Black, I believe.
Yes.
Def Leppard, Hysteria. So his combined album sales in terms of albums he's produced. There can't be anyone that's done more than this dude. Like, he must have the fucking biggest pool that you've ever seen.
Who was that guy that Mariah Carey was married to? The head of Sony.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Fuck. His name escapes me. Tommy?
Was he...
Someone? I mean, it's a similar thing.
Yep.
You know, it's just another massive record producer.
Yeah. Absolutely. So she met Mutt Lange after he heard her original songs and singing from her debut album. Then he offered to produce and write songs with her. So they first met at Nashville's Fanfare in 1993, and they were married in 1993 as well. There you go. Met in June 93, married in December 93.
Yes, keep that in mind.
There you go. And then they had a son in 2001. So unfortunately, in 2008, Tom, the love couldn't last. It was announced that Twain and Lange were separating after Lange allegedly had an affair with Twain's best friend. Shit. So their divorce was finalised in 2010, and then in June 2010, then in December 2010, it was reported that Twain was engaged to the ex-husband of the person that her husband had cheated on her with. So it's like a couple swap. So there you go.
Do you reckon that was just revenge?
Yeah, maybe. So it's like, you've had an affair with my best friend, I'm going to fucking just marry her ex-husband now. So.
Yeah, one of the few people in the world probably as rich as that guy as well.
Well, yeah.
She's
engaged to a Nestle executive. Yeah, exactly. So, but Mutt Lange, he's... Yeah, so that's a pretty weird sort of tale. obviously. So, look, good times.
Tommy Mottola, that's who I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah, that's all good.
He's one of the few people who could have a swimming pool off. Him,
Yep.
David Geffen, and Mutt Lang, I reckon, would be,
Oh, definitely. Look. So, but the weird thing about that is that that's quite a lot of drama there. I think. So, you know, she's got the producer husband who's produced all her hits, helped to sell all these records. He has an affair with a best friend. Break up. She gets married to the other dude. You know, there's what I would have thought that with that sort of relationship drama and madness, she would have had enough material. You know, from that, like Taylor Swift could get 10 albums out of that sort of shit, you know what I mean? So I feel like that Shania could have written a whole album or several about this, but she just seemed to disappear. She sort of, did she just sell so many records, she went, fuck it, I don't need to worry about this anymore.
Hey, that's interesting you should say that, but that might explain why a lot of her music was so bland around this time, is because she was just really happy and in love. For instance, this song was written by Shania and Lang together about the fact that when they first got together, people had their doubts about them because he'd just been married twice and was her producer. You know, hey, at least she wasn't 12 when they met.
True.
But, you know, like you said, they'd been together for like 5 months and then they got married. And hence this song, you know, it's about, hey, fuck the haters, you know, like, you know.
Yep.
And I mean, they were together for a whole decade before he boned her best friend.
That's true.
You know, but perhaps if... You know, and by the time that all that stuff happened, you know, I think she was pretty much out of the music recording, you know, in the big mainstream hit factory area anyway. But perhaps if all of this shit had happened when she was at her musical peak, then she could have, you know, been the Taylor Swift of her day and written, you know, some or like Alanis Morissette and written some really angry, shitty, you know, ballads.
About Uncle Joey from Full House.
Instead of this song, which sounds like a TV commercial for reasons that might become apparent if you lived in Australia for any length of time.
Yeah, this is one of the worst ones, I think, from, like, there's some of the other ones that she did which are... You know, they're a bit more upbeat, a bit more fun, but this sort of sucks.
Yeah, even something like that don't impress me much. At least it's got a bit of a bite to it. This one's just like, you know, hey, look at us, we're still really happy, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So look, but yeah, this dude. So I'm just having a real quick look. Yeah, some Def Leppard albums in there. AC/DC,
Billy Ocean,
Foreigner. Oh yeah, Billy Ocean. Exactly. Obviously Shania, Bryan Adams, Waking Up the Neighbours. That probably sold 1 trillion albums as well.
Yeah.
So look. But yeah, I mean, look, this album, the song that this was on her third album, Come On Over. So, best-selling studio album by a female act in any genre.
Wow.
Of all time. Best-selling country album of all time. I mean, is it, you know how, I have to say country in inverted commas because Taylor Swift, I guess, as well, is one of those sort of country pop artists where you listen to it now and just go, these are just pop songs. And these are, Shania songs are effectively just pop songs.
Yeah, totally. At the time, I think the crossover artist idea was a bit more original. But, I mean, there had already been people like, you know, male artists like Garth Brooks and, you know, Billy Ray Cyrus and stuff who had managed to be on the charts in both areas. But, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a recipe for... just a bucket of cash, you know.
Oh, no doubt.
If you can manage to be number one on 2 separate, entirely distinct pop charts with 2 separate groups of people who pay the same amount of money for record sales, I mean, wow.
Yeah, 40 million sold is an absolute fuck ton. So good on you, Shania. Crazy. I think, did she do that thing where years later she ended up doing like a Vegas thing or something? I don't know whether I imagine that or not, like a Britney style.
I know what you mean. It seems like she would have. Yeah. But whether that means she did or not, I don't know.
20 years after this, 5 years ago or something, said, I'm going to jump on and do that.
Sorry, I didn't look up her more recent career, because she's been a bit quiet.
She has been very quiet, but look, she might be in the Savage Garden vibe where she's just like, fuck this, I've just made so much cash off this. Maybe I can just relax and just hang out with my new husband that, you know, is my best friend's ex-husband. And do you reckon they've sort of reconciled now and maybe they sort of...
I like to imagine that they do a bit of role play where they pretend that they're the other people in the relationship, and
yeah, definitely,
maybe a bit of gender swap as well. She pretends to be a record producer 20 years older than him.
Yep.
He pretends to be a young up and coming country artist, and
for sure
takes financial advantage of him.
There's a lot of combinations and permutations in there.
Pegs him economically.
Yeah, it goes without saying. Look, it sounds like there's a lot of fun there. Probably a sitcom that could come out of this, I think. So, what else you got?
Oh, look, not much. I was just going to say what you like about Lang, but at least he realised how huge a Canadian country artist could be if they combined this sort of country-type pop with glossy production and Kmart-friendly sort of sexualised imagery of your All Saints-type bands, but with someone who can actually sing. Mm-hmm. And she does have a good voice. Like, she really does. She's got a very smooth, likeable voice, It's sort of like her image. It's kind of sexy, but not too sultry. And, I mean, she's so hot that some called her the female Billy Ray Cyrus. Mostly just me then. In case you think I'm being extra pervy, I should point out that she's nude on the cover of this single, and the album is called Come On Over as well. That was not accidental. Like, she was definitely sort of... her image was carefully sort of pegged, speaking of pegging, in the right spot. So, yeah. And it was incredibly, shamelessly commercial. Like, it was,
These must have some great lyrics.
It was like... I think you were going to say something about, if you're Australian, you'll have an attachment to this song.
Yeah, I think, was this the theme song for Channel 9 at some time, or did I just imagine that? Or was
not for some time, for like a decade.
Yeah,
okay. It's friggin' huge. Yeah. They had their own versions of it and their own promo ads, and
Still the one I knew. Yeah, exactly. So Channel 9 used this for some time, and I think that they were showing, I remember the first time I think I saw this, I believe the Bob Morrison show was on time, and sorry, that's a super obscure reference. If you don't know the Bob Morrison show, it was an Australian sitcom from about, and I use the term sitcom loosely, from probably around this era, 98, something like that. And it was about a dog, and Tom, yes, the dog could talk. It was
Could it actually talk, or did it just talk in its head?
It talked in its head. So the dog would run around. It's like, look at this guy. He's like, he's doing the washing up. Oh, how silly. Why is he washing the plates up? And everyone went, ha, ha, ha. It's a dog. Like, and that's, I think, about the level of comedy. It was just sort of like, what's out this door? Oh, goodness me. Oh, the sprinkler's on. It's just like, for fuck's sake. So, look, I'd like to say check it out, but I don't think you can watch it because I'm sure the masters were destroyed in a fire. And not like an accidental warehouse fire. I think just someone threw them in a fire because fucking hell, it was total dog shit. I don't think I'm the first person that's spoken about this since 1998.
It's the kind of Australian sitcom that people remember vaguely when they make statements like, Australia can't make sitcoms. And they sort of forget the occasional good outliers that do happen. What they mean is when Australia tries to make an American-style sitcom, like about a 5-year-old rip-off of Look Who's Talking or whatever, this is what happens. Like, when we try to make Friends, it turns into the Bob Morrison show. But, we can make them sometimes, but they don't look like the American kind. We can't do that kind. It just never works.
Hey, remember Look Who's Talking Now? Wouldn't it be funny if we made a sitcom about that? I don't think it would be. Well, let's do it anyway. I've already bought the dog. Let's just proceed.
Didn't it happen 5 years ago? I don't know. I've been in a cocaine haze for that time. Do I work in advertising or for Channel 9 or both? I can't even tell anymore.
I think a dog talking sounds fucking hilarious.
Did I dream that? I can't even remember. Am I awake now?
Where am I? I feel like I dreamt that show because it was so bad I can't sort of imagine anyone spending any creative effort on it, but alas they did. Does this have any lyrics that are worth repeating? Not
really. These lyrics, they're all about, as mentioned, they're all about how you should develop a sentimental attachment to Channel 9, even though they inflicted Hey Hey It's Saturday on you for half the 20th century. Sorry, no, I remember that was the TV commercial again. No, these were all just about fuck the haters, we're still in love.
Yep.
Ain't nothing better, we beat the odds together. I'm glad we didn't listen. Look at what we would be missing.
Uh-huh.
Now, Ben, just to step outside of lyrics for a minute, does that sound like a metaphysical impossibility, or is it just me? Like, without getting into quantum mechanics, is it possible to observe a thing that never occurred? And if it did occur, can it be missed?
Yeah, okay.
Can you miss something theoretically, Ben?
Yep.
like all the good music that you could have heard if Shania Twain had never existed that would have been played in their place. Is it possible? Can you look at what you would be missing?
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's a very good question. And look, I think it's best answered by Coles Radio, Tom, where I think that they have demonstrated what I was missing because I was listening to Shania Twain. So I think
what did that turn out to be? Did it, by any chance, Run to Paradise?
it turned out to be Run to Paradise.
Still.
And also Belinda Carlisle's Wild Horses, I believe, or Runaway Horses. But, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it is a good question. I think it does sort of get into, outside the purview of this podcast if we start talking quantum physics and quantum mechanics about
I just thought it was more interesting
what,
than that song. Two incredibly rich, attractive people telling each other how good they are for falling in love 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, interesting. Shania Twain, 8.6 on the spot, a FI. So
it's actually a bit less than I would have thought.
Yeah, look, she's been out of the game for a while.
True, yes, true.
But so for someone that really hasn't done much for a while, that's a lot. But
yeah, it's hard to imagine many Gen Z giving a fuck about Shania Twain.
No, but once we take this song and add some Eurobeats to it, Tom, as the B-side to our Celine Dion Eurobeat song, I think kids will be like going, what the fuck? And it'll, of course, be Shania Twain versus Ben and Tom.
Sure. Versus Celine.
Versus Celine, because we're going to bring the verses back. We're going to do that.
Sure.
And we're going to do the Jason Nevins style cover where you just take the actual song and add a new beat to it and then just go, it's a new song, bro. I mean, sure, we'll have to give 100% of the songwriting royalty credit to someone else, but look, it's not about the money, Tom. It's just about sort of...
we're doing it for the love.
We're doing it for the love. And yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of songs that you're deeply in love with, what's
next? Up next for 1 week is Steps 5, 6, 7, 8. Now...
I had genuinely forgotten this one.
No, Tom, I will never forget because much as you mentioned Jason Nevins versus Run DMC at nightclubs, I can recall. 1998. Yeah, I would have probably just turned 18 around this time.
Going out age.
So I certainly recall this being on. And holy shit, look, someone once told me, Tom, that there are no bad genres. There are just bad artists within genres. But this shows that this isn't true, as the genre being what sort of hillbilly Eurodance is fucking all dog shit.
Yeah, now, in case you're thinking that surely there can't be more than one song that would fit into that category, stick around for the rest of this year, because I had pretty much forgotten that this ever existed, but it must have just been a very brief, short-lived thing that somehow skipped past me. I mean, I do remember this.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, look.
A lot of people say that,
Interesting question, though, by the way, what you're saying, the question of whether there are such a thing as a bad genre.
Is there a bad genre? Or I think there probably are. I think there definitely are. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, I have heard people say, oh, look, there's no... you pick a genre you don't like, and maybe you just heard the worst. I'll play you the best artist in that thing. But I think because most of this is completely subjective, there's obviously going to be things that just never gel with you.
Yeah.
No matter whether it's like this is the best artist in the hillbilly Eurobeat sort of genre. It's like,
I suppose best is relative,
bro. Yeah, exactly. But look. The thing is as well, Tom, a lot of people, and this is a discussion that goes on. Can one look at an artist and say you're responsible for what comes after you? So from that I mean, can we look at someone like, say, Rage Against the Machine and say, objectively you did something that was original and different for music at the time and were very popular, but you obviously there's a very clear through line between that and rap metal at the end of that sort of. You know what I mean?
Legitimately, I've heard people having the same discussion with comedians, and I don't think you can. It's not the same as your particular audience. You can't blame an artist for the people that they influence.
Exactly.
You can't,
Exactly right. So you can't look at sort of, your grunge bands and say, well, basically Kurt Cobain, you inspired
Nickelback.
So you're to blame. Or,
right.
Rage Against the Machine inspired, the rap metal things that were, less good, I guess, than what became before it. So I think in that way, does that mean we were able to give rednecks a pass? Because Cotton Eye Joe is clearly the through line here between this, because I think they invented the hillbilly Euro beat sort of genre.
When was Cotton Eye Joe?
94, I
94,
think, or
well,
95, something like that. So
I was going to say, if you do want to hear, for some reason, a not shit dance song built around some bluegrass banjo, you can try Swamp Thing by The Grid. That got to number 3 in Australia and the UK in 94.
Okay.
And that is, I'd almost forgotten that one too, but I was like, this reminds me of that as well. And that's a kind of, I don't know, maybe there was just from 94 to 98. Yeah, it's more, but you know, it shows that you could make a less embarrassing
it can't be worse than this. I mean, fucking hell. So, look, the chorus, "My boot scooting baby is driving me crazy," must be one of the worst of the 90s.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't.
pretty bad.
I remember sort of at the time, I reckon this song had been out for about 5 minutes, and people were already like. There would have been, if there was the internet back then, there would have been a lot of memes about how shit this is. Because I just remember people like joking about how fucking garbage this was. Literally,
even at the time.
It feels like they recorded this in the studio, and by the time they got home that night, it was already dated and just horribly horrific. My boot scooting baby is driving me crazy.
It's such dog shit.
Now,
You're totally right.
I can recall people singing it like, this is one for the ages level of terrible, like at the time. But that's the chorus. There's a rap bit in this, which
there is.
And this is hard for me to say because there is so much bad Eurodance rap bit.
It's almost a part of the genre. It's pretty much a standard of the genre.
It is the standard of the genre. The chick doing the vocals and then the dude comes in and does a
white
rap.
European guy with English as a second language drops some fat street knowledge on you in the middle of...
This is probably worse than a dude from Denmark who has no English and has sort of been forced to rap in English. Like, the rap in this, I think, and these guys are from, I think, Ireland, are they? Or they're native English speakers, but the rap bit in this is sort of like so dog shit that I can't even imagine why they let it into the song. Like, wouldn't they have just listened to the studio and just went, let's just not have that rap bit. Let's just sort of have like a bridge with no vocals in it for a bit, and we'll just do that because it is absolutely atrocious. Look, and what I find so also shit about this is the music video. They're clearly trying to get a dance craze happening.
Yeah,
like, there's a choreographed dancing in there. Or it's sort of like, hey, let's try and do like a fucking, like the Macarena or something where we'll get people to learn these moves, but the song was so bad that it just didn't take off.
Well, not only that, but like it seemed to me as well that it's kind of like line dancing.
Yeah, it is.
But which was like 6 years late. Like even Shania wasn't doing this shit anymore, and she was actual country for fuck's sake. I mean, we covered was Billy Ray Cyrus. That was what, 91?
Yeah, it was
92. So it's 98, and they're trying to do a revival of it. Sort of
remember that achy breaky
techno line dancing thing in clubs. Now, did a bunch of pissed people get up on stage and try to lane dance in nightclubs to this? Yes, they did. But you have to give them some mercy, because the next song that was going to come on was going to probably be an Entrance remix of "Do You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart.
So you just worked with what you had, which was obviously this. But
and alcohol, obviously.
The video clip involves the dude members just driving around on quad bikes on a beach, and then the chicks just doing the dance moves.
It has nothing to do with. I mean, it's even as much as the song means anything. I mean, fucking even Aqua, at least Dr. Jones, kind of, sort of half-assedly looks vaguely like what they're talking about. Like, as we mentioned last episode, this Steps is getting into the post-Eurodance era.
Oh, it is post-Eurodance.
The Big Four are a distant memory in the past. They're a much missed. And now we're into the era of shit like Steps, S Club 7 and Eiffel 65, who are frankly a poor shadow of LaBouche, Melody MC and the Real McCoy.
Absolutely.
All the videos look interchangeably like someone trying to reboot the Wiggles in Ibiza with shitter choreography.
Yes.
But just 20-year-olds. And why, Ben? Why? And more importantly, importantly, who would try to rip off Eurodance and somehow make it more disposable but with worse lyrics?
Yeah.
And who the fuck would try to cash in off a line dancing song 7 years late? Well, Ben, it might help if you turn the CD over, look at the back, put some powder on those fingerprints, and see the production watermark for Steps is our old mate Peter fucking Watering Can from Stock Aching Watering fucking Can. God damn it!
Really?
He just keeps coming back. He's like Jason from the Jason movies.
Well,
no matter how many times you cut off his head and piss down his neck, so he gets hit by lightning, and suddenly you're looking at 4 sort of half-assedly shambling zombie 20-year-olds in bikinis on a beach in Ibiza. Ah, Jesus.
Well, that explains a lot, because I didn't know that, Tom. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. When I was listening to this today, I actually thought to myself, fuck, the production on this sounds weak as
Yes, that's
piss.
what I mean. Like, Eurodance, it's easy to listen to Eurodance in 92 and go, this is fun, but it's really disposable and stuff.
Yeah.
Listen to this, and you're going, geez, Ace of Base was quite well done.
Yeah,
like, they actually put some effort into the production.
Definitely. Look,
All That She Wants sounds pretty fucking good now.
Look, Ice MC still gets me pumped up to this day. So, look, I get, I will fucking jump out of a window to Ice MC once that sort of, when he starts listing the countries, it's fantastic. But this I just went, sounds really thin. The production sounds super thin.
It's got the
pretty
Stock
bad,
Aching Watering
and
Can touch.
fucking hell, that explains a lot. Yeah, fuck this. You're right. I mean, attempting to cash in on a line dancing craze 10 years after the fact is just fucking desperate. And look, interestingly, in the UK, this was the highest selling single of the 90s to not reach the top 10. So it didn't make it in the top 10, but outside of songs that made the top 10, this was the biggest selling one of the whole decade. So people were like, we like it enough to buy a heap, but not quite enough to get it into the top 10.
I hate to say it, we give shit to the UK sometimes, but it didn't even crack the 10 there, and we've got it at number 1. Jesus.
Top the charts in Australia.
1 week, but still. Like,
and Belgium.
7 days too many.
Yeah, Belgium as well. Those guys know what's up. So, look, what do you got for me, Eddie?
Lyric. The 2 pricks who wrote this are only credited with 1 other song each, which might explain why the verses aren't even lines. They're just casually smushed together fridge magnets from the Walmart Country Fuck Knuckle collection. Things like tush pushin', thunderfootin', cowgirl twistin', no resistin', great. Drums bangin', steel twangin', two-steppin', end to end, hardwood crawlin', four-wallin'. That's what the verses are. It's just like words just kind of mushed together.
Definitely.
And then it just says boot scootin' baby, just if you thought that the chorus might come as some reprieve, you can get fucked.
Look, Tom, I can also very clearly remember seeing people on the dance floor like absolutely just cranking, some crazy dance moves to this, but also sort of like just in a sort of like I've had 27 Maduran Illusion shakers at Club Surreal in Hobart. I'm just going to go apeshit to this, and you'd sort of see them be like, it's fun, and then it was sort of like if you ever saw that person again in the future and just went, saw you the other, it just like didn't happen, like it didn't exist. It was sort of like
agreement that.
It was just sort of, exactly. No, I definitely wasn't dancing to Steps. That wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. So, I was playing at the L-shaped pool table, though, at Club Surreal. So, But, look, terrible. Absolutely terrible. 1 million people still listen to Steps on Spotify. Jesus, I don't know who.
What are you doing?
And 70 cents, that's way too much money for this. I don't know why 70 cents. I don't know. Not sure. Anyway, look, that sucks shit. So up next is, 1 week again, Casey and JoJo, All My Life. Now, Tom, these guys are an off-brand Boys to Men. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, this is classic mid-90s R&B. Speaking of musical genres, I think this might be my least favourite musical genre of all time. That's not a joke. I cannot think of a single song in this genre that I ever liked at any time. I would rather listen to the full post-Eurodance catalogue than listen to any song that starts with a descending Mark Tree glissando, which is what that... You know what that is? It's that song that's the start of every single R&B song, which sounds like magic sparkles from a cartoon. Except instead of indicating that Cinderella's about to go to the ball after all, it indicates that 4 black guys are about to use musical rohypnol to try and ear fuck you in a bubble bath for the next 4 minutes, which will seem like 40 because there's no melody and the song just goes on and on and on.
Look, when I hear that, though, I assume it's a joke when you hear that thing at the start. So when it's a serious song, you're like, oh, shit.
Joke, but
you're like, oh, fuck. So, look, it's interesting. Brothers Casey and JoJo were founding members of the, quote, sexually provocative swing beat outfit. Is it Jodeci or Jodeci?
I am not the expert on this one.
Look, they enjoyed several US chart hits during the 90s, including Lately, Get On Up, and my personal favourite, Freakin' You.
What's the Freakin' You story?
Well, Freakin' You, it's features the lyrics, Tom. Every time I close my eyes, I wake up feeling so horny. I can't get you out of my mind. Sex and you be all I see. So sometimes you got to read between the lines with these lyrics, Tom, to sort of get to what they really mean.
Me there.
But Jodesh, they cut to the chase and just say, look, sometimes I wake up, I've got a raging boner and just want to bang you. So that's okay. So look, good on them. The brothers just went, look, we want to get away from that sort of like overtly sexual nature. So we're going to come and do All My Life. Let's do something a little bit subtler, a little bit softer. Some would say more, significantly more boring. But look, they've done that. They split from Jodeci to form their own. They successfully came up with a hit straight away with obviously All My Life, and then they featured prominently on the 2-pack #1 single, How Do You Want It?
Oh, okay.
So they did a bit of work there as well. Look, the video clip for this is one of my favourites of all time of the 90s, because they're rocking white gloves, white scarf, white shirts with no collars, black jackets with no collars, and gold buttons up the middle. It's like sort of like... that's not all together. They're in 2 different sort of scenes.
Yes.
There's one where they're in all white and then one where they're rocking that black. And I think the dude's got sort of like those speed dealer glasses.
Yeah, with sunglasses indoors at night.
It's a sick look, and I can't imagine that any chick would turn them down with those outfits, especially once you say, I used to be in Jodeci.
Not in 1998, no. Not once they'd seen your tiny little Matrix classes.
Yeah, and look, if you interesting though as well, like listening to this, I sort of went, fuck, this sort of sounds familiar.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't because of this. I sort of went, oh, okay, I can sort of remember this. And I think a lot of people can as well. Everyone will be like going, yes, this does sound familiar. And it's because the song's piano line was sampled on Nelly's 2007 song, What's Your Name?
Oh, okay.
So Nelly fans out there are probably like, I do recognise this song very much. So yeah.
I actually didn't notice the piano line. I just thought it was someone accidentally leaning on the pitch bend wheel on their Yamaha home organ for 4 minutes. But
yeah, when I say piano line, I think I'm being quite generous, I think. So look, JoJo, one half of JoJo and Casey, he said, quote, this song was originally supposed to be used for another artist, a female artist on AMN Records.
Oh, okay.
But then he also said, we listened to it, and after we got out of the studio, it was like, I'm keeping this. This is too hot.
Sure.
Now, too hot's one way to put it. Would you put it too hot, or what would you say?
I'd say derivative, tedious, and 3 years out of date, but then I don't like this genre,
I was going to say too shit, but it is fine either way. So, look, good on them for going hard on this. I respect them for splitting with the group and doing their own thing.
Sure.
When Jodeci they were at the top of their game with, Freaking You, but they said, let's leave that behind and go and do this. Let's get some white, and all white is that shit gets dirty real quick as well. So like any sort of like you do anything,
the dry cleaning bills alone.
Exactly right. So you look at that and just go, man, all white. That's a bold move, but they did it, and I respect them. Good on them. This must have a lot of great lyrics.
Well, it starts off well. The first song opens with the word baby repeated 12. That's a dozen times.
Good.
Verse 1 is, I will never find another lover more precious than you. Girl, you are close to me, you're like my mother. Close to me, you're like my father. Close to me, you're like my sister. Close to me, you're like my brother. Now, I'm assuming the song was a big hit in northwestern Tasmania.
Yeah.
My question with all of these R&B bands is, did they actually like this shit, or was it just to get laid?
Look, it has to be the latter.
I don't, because there just doesn't seem to be any rhythm in these songs. There doesn't seem to be any soul in these songs. It's just like
not a lot happening.
Yeah, even as seduction, like the average James Brown song is more seductive. But I don't know. Maybe I don't even say I'm too old because I was 18, 20 at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. Hey, maybe I'm just too white to get it. That's quite possible.
I don't know why JC and JoJo didn't look at sort of, some of the forefathers, some of the, heavy hitters of the genre, some of those that really paved the way for good songs in this genre. I'm talking, like your Colour Me Bads. I don't know why they sort of didn't look at those guys and say, let's do something more
DeVoe sound like NWA, At least
Exactly.
Belle Biv DeVoe was kind of dancey,
For sure. Look, I love Belle Biv DeVoe.
BBD.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why they didn't look at that sort of Belle Biv DeVoe, Colour Me Bad, those really hardcore dudes,
gangster rappers out on the street,
and just went and did something better than this. But look, it's a number one. In
True,
Australia,
granted.
so look, they did it. They got there. They made it in the end. So it's good. 2.1 mil on Spotify.
Wow,
that's a lot. That's heaps. I don't know how much Jodeshi have, but
they had quite a few albums, so they must have gone on selling to people who do not normally listen to this ARIA chart.
Exactly. And look, 20 cents for this. So yeah, it's probably about right. You got anything else to say about this?
No, please.
Cool, no problem. Moving on. For 6 weeks, 21st of June is look. Tom, we saw it in 1992 that you could get a number one out of the theme for the Olympics with Amigos Para Sempre. Remember that bullshit?
God, yeah.
So that sucks. So why not get the theme for a football World Cup up to number one? And you know who did that? I'll tell you right now. It's Ricky Martin with the Cup of Life.
Yes. Ole, ole, ole.
Exactly right. Exactly. So, look, fantastic. FIFA came knocking and they said, look, hey, Ricky, we want you to record a song for the France 1998 World Cup, and this is what happened, Tom. He recorded that song, number one in Australia for 6 weeks, okay? Voted the best World Cup anthem by several publications. The number one.
Big call.
What is the fucking competition, though? I mean, you've got 1966 World Cup Willie. Fuck knows what that is, but it sounds terrible. 1994 Gloryland by Daryl Hall.
God almighty.
So one half of Hall and Oates doing Gloryland. Sounds like a real weird sex club, sort of somewhere out of Berlin.
Around about this time, there was Three Lions by fucking those two British comedians, Baddiel and Skinner, which is effing appalling as well. I used to find them kind of funny around this time when I was like this age, but Jesus Christ, that sucked.
You've got 2002, you got Boom by Anastasia. I don't know what that is, but I assume that's fucking awful. 2010, you got Sign of a Victory by R. Kelly. Now, that's cancelled, obviously. I mean, fucking hell. Sign of a Victory, R. Kelly, don't know what that is. I didn't listen to it.
His current sign of a victory would be getting out of court scot-free.
Well, yeah, exactly. Look, I didn't want to listen to it on Spotify. For sure. I mean, you listen to one R. Kelly song on YouTube and then the algorithm sort of turn real dark, so you don't want to do that. And then 2014... We Are One, Ole Ole, Pitbull, featuring Jennifer Lopez. So when they say that Ricky Martin, The Cup of Life, is the best of all time, they're probably not wrong, to be honest, because there's a lot of shit in that list.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that this was at the top for 6 weeks in Australia, which is not traditionally a soccer playing nation, shows that it crossed over and people like listening to it outside of that context. So that's something,
Cup of Life! Ole, ole, ole.
I think drunk people like going ole, ole, ole.
Gets you pumped up, exactly. Look, I actually thought, Tom, the Cup of Life was that cup from Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, where he sort of walks across to drink that cup. I thought that was a Cup of Life. I thought it was that.
That would make more sense, yes.
Or maybe a bubble tea might be the Cup of Life. Or there's that thing they have at Hungry Jack's, which is like an off-brand like bubble tea. I think it's got like bursties. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But yeah, a kid told me to say that, Tom. I don't know what that even is, bursties. I don't know what that is. But so yeah, trying to appeal to a younger audience here. So I'm trying to get something that 12-year-olds might like. But yeah, so Cup of Life, fantastic. This is obviously Latin vibe. This is like, is this prime time for this sort of Latino
think
vibe
so.
type.
Yeah, this was Jennifer Lopez starting to take off.
I think so, yep.
Yeah. I mean, some people called Ricky Martin the Latin George Michael. You might notice there I'm using the sophisticated Donnie Trump technique of employing the words some to mean one and people to mean a person called me just then, a prefix which can then be followed by any statement in the entire world and not be technically inaccurate, provided your brain is made of lukewarm goose shit. Some people say I have a 12-foot penis, Ben. Some people say ducks can fart rainbows into the heart of the sun. Some people say that oxygen is a form of breakdancing. But I do reckon that Ricky Martin's a bit like George Michael personally.
Look, I think that's good, Tom. And what you need to do is you need to go into George Michael or Ricky Martin's Wikipedia page, and you need to put that in as a thing, and then it becomes a fact. So
and I'll attribute it to myself, quoting that article in an infinite Mobius strip that no journalist could ever possibly be fucked, looking up or questioning.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do it on a blog, and then you got to quote that blog in the thing, and then you
quote it back to the original.
To yep. So, look, I think that's pretty good. Look, you're right. To say that he is the Latino George Michael, I'm on board with that, and I think that
they're both immaculately maintained guys who are purported to be heterosexual for a long time. They had crossover success in other countries beyond their own, and did a lot of pop stuff. Did ballads, love songs, but also, some pop, mainstream pop stuff. But,
But do we know if Ricky Martin spent a lot of time in the gay toilets like George Michael? We don't know that. We're not quite sure.
Hey, I'm not from Puerto Rico, so
I couldn't tell you. May well. He might have a map as well of all the Puerto Rican gay toilets as well, much like George did. Look, he's been performing. So, not George. I've got him on my mind now. Tom. Ricky, look, performing since he was a child. He was in a boy band, then several Spanish language solo albums.
Yep.
He did, and then obviously it was this song that first broke him on the world stage, if you can believe that. It seems like he's been around forever, but this was one of the first ones, and he backed it up with Livin' La Vida Loca.
He did.
She's living the crazy life. And his first language, English language solo album came out next year, I think, 99, and sold 15 million copies. So obviously this was great promotion.
I seem to remember him performing at some major Australian sporting event around this time as well, doing She Bangs, which I think was the next one after that.
Which is fucking great in terms of like...
Yeah, Australians loved him, clearly. It wasn't definitely. Just, we really liked him for a while there. But
yep.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he got his start in Menudo. Do you know Menudo, Ben?
I don't, Tom.
They are this sort of interesting proto-boy band from Puerto Rico who started in 1977 and have essentially been performing and reforming since then until the present.
So they sort of swap members out.
Yes, as they age out and stuff. I think they wrapped up officially in 97, but then a group split off and did a separate one, and then they reformed and went back and reformed. From their original 5 members, guess how many they've had?
Oh, 77.
77, including Ricky Martin.
So what's that, like 45 years? Like 100?
No, they've had 38 members.
Okay.
2 of them are dead now.
Okay.
No, you're right. I was kind of hoping it would be more than that, but when you scroll down through them on a Wikipedia page and you see deceased in front of a couple of people, like, Jesus. Also, when you see the original 5 from 77, it's kind of endearing how there's no polish to them at all. They all look like the youngest, dorkiest, pimpliest child from like a Brady Bunch era sitcom, with just like a stripy t-shirt in it. So they clearly weren't going off sex appeal. I think it must have been just like, what are these 14-year-old girls into now? They're like these pop dorks. We'll get like 5 of them about their age. That'll do. But there's also, if you really want to, you can see an early video of like... It must have been at the start of Oprah's career before she had her own show.
Okay.
She's like she's like doing vox pop stuff on TV, and she's interviewing Menudo on stage, and so it's like 4 18-year-olds and one guy who looks like about 13, and that's Ricky Martin.
Nice.
And she's saying like, how does it feel to be the newest member of Menudo and stuff? This isn't like grainy VHS quality. Sorry, but so like he's been around for a while, even though like in this he looks very young and stuff. But
Now, Tom, would it better, you just asked me that question, I said 100, would it be better for you if I said a figure under 38? So, let's go again, go. Ask me the question, go one more time.
From their original 5 members, guess how many they've had?
Oh, 16?
38.
What?
That's nearly double.
Mike,
actually.
that's way more than I would have. That's crazy.
Tom, I blame myself there partly because, to me, 1977, while it seems like a while ago, doesn't seem like what actually is, 45 years ago.
That's it. Yeah.
If you figure it as 45 years, that's less than one new person a year, which is not that weird, really. I mean, there are rock bands that have one new person a year.
Oh, exactly right. I mean, there's probably the Wiggles have probably had 38 people by this stage. Fuck knows what's going on with that. So.
Please, let's get.
It's so good. Now,
on.
look. So you mentioned, I think is this the high watermark of his career, the Cup of Life, or is it Livin' La Vida Loca, where he rhymes that with her skin's the colour of mocha? Great lyrics, those ones. But then she bangs just cuts to the point. It's just like is that just basically she likes to fuck? Is that or is it sort of more subtle than that?
At the time, people were wondering whether bangs is some sort of doesn't have the same euphemism in Puerto Rico or Latin America that it does here. But I don't know. I think he knows the euphemism.
I think he does, absolutely. Look, so Ricky, obviously, after this red-hot Cup of Life action, he performed this song during the first inauguration of George W. Bush in 2001.
The Cup of Life?
Yeah, exactly. Really? So it's sort of... I find it odd, but, because he's not from the US. So I guess, how does that work? So George W. Bush says, look, I'm becoming president, fantastic. I get to choose the artist, or does someone sort of say, oh, George, you should have these? I don't know how it really works, but him sort of coming up and doing the Cup of Life, look, I like it. I think it's fucking brazen. I'm totally on board with that. But it was ranked, quote, one of the best inauguration performances of all time by several sources that I looked at the internet.
Was this the Donald Trump promotional circular loop technique?
Yeah, so if that's the best, what do you think would be the worst inauguration performance? Obama had Beyonce, U2 and Bruce Springsteen, and Stevie Wonder.
Yep.
Trump had Three Doors Down.
Sure. I mean, that's a little bit unfair. Don't forget he also had Toby Keith.
Oh, sorry.
Those four little girls who Trump wouldn't pay, or the Piano Guys. That's actually their name. They're called the Piano Guys. I mean, I'd probably say Beyonce. She's probably worse than the Piano Guys.
She is the worst. But yeah, it's sort of funny, isn't it, that you sort of like go, okay, George Bush, W. Bush had, Ricky Martin. Obama had Beyonce, U2, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, some of the biggest artists of our time and maybe of all time. And then Trump had Three Doors Down. I mean, for fuck's sake.
They were the biggest ones on the bill.
The biggest one.
I looked back through the friggin' Wikipedia just to see if maybe I'd forgotten that there was... maybe I was like... Maybe Kid Rock played.
Did Crazy Town show up? I don't know, but yeah.
What was Three Doors Down's one half hit that they had?
Oh, look, it's the thing is that I think I've actually erased it from my memory. So
I keep wanting to say Semi-Charmed Life or some shit like that, but I don't even think that was someone else. I think.
Oh, look, it's the problem with Three Doors Down is it's one of those names that you. I sort of said it as a joke, but then once I drill down on my actual knowledge of them, I'm just like going, I don't really know if I can sort of So for the audience, what I'm doing is I'm trying to fill in. I'm talking while I look at the Wikipedia.
Yes.
So Kryptonite.
That's it. That was their one.
Number 8 in Australia. So we won't get to talk about that, unfortunately. So that was their biggest hit, and then Here Without You reached number 2 in Australia.
Okay.
I don't know what that is, but yeah. Anyway, they're great, and looking forward to maybe the end of the decade rap. We can factor in some Three Doors Down if need be.
Sure. I mean, I would do a post grunge rap, but it's frankly too depressing.
Yeah. Look, lyrical highlights for this has to be a load, don't they?
Well, I mean, it's
ole ole ole.
It's mostly that, and everything else is sort of vaguely soccer related. The Cup of Life, it's do or die. It's here. It's now. Turn up the lights. Push it along, then let it roll, push it along, go, go, gold. I'm assuming he's talking about the football there, and he doesn't want you to drop the Cup of Life on the ground and kick the shit out of it.
No.
So, yeah, it's kind of, again, you get the gist of what he's talking about. Really, it's just words to fill in until you get to go, ole, ole, ole.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, sort of vagabond style strike those balls sort of in there. Probably not.
Speaking of Three Doors Down, who have we got next?
Oh, wow. Well, look, Tom, we've got probably one of the best of the decade, isn't it? It is Goo Goo Dolls with Iris for 5 weeks. Boom.
Speaking of post-grunge.
Absolutely, Tom. Look, people worried, that rock was dead after the death of Kurt Cobain, but let's just say rock and roll is alive and well. So, look, Goo Goo Dolls, great band name. Don't know anything about where that came from, but sort of sounds great. But look, what I like about this song particularly is that this has become a popular wedding song. Avril Lavigne picked it for the first dance at her wedding to the Sum 41 frontman, apparently.
Yeah, that's just about
in 2006.
basic enough.
But they divorced in 2010. So I think that this is what this. So based on sort of the data that I've looked at, Tom, which is just one solitary case, but I think that qualifies as data. If you choose this song as your wedding song, first dance song, you will be divorced within 5 years. That's what I'm saying.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Put yourself in the female shoes for a minute.
Yep.
Do you reckon it's better to be married to the Sum 41 frontman or the Nickelback frontman?
Oh, that's tough because Avril Lavigne was engaged to the guy from Nickelback for a while, wasn't she? So look, Jesus, that's sort of...
Let me ask you this. Would you rather have Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls played at your wedding or You Remind Me by Nickelback? Or perhaps look at this photograph as your first dance at your wedding?
What's the one that starts with I like your pants around your feet?
I think it's called I Like Your Pants Around Your Feet.
Yeah, look, I think I'd take Goo Goo Dolls 100%.
Yeah, I would actually. This is better than Nickelback.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. So look, so this song was written by the Goo Goo Dolls for the movie City of Angels.
Yes, yep.
So it's sung from the perspective of Nicolas Cage's character. Mm-hmm. So when they were, apparently, I think they were the band Goo Goo Dolls were given some idea about what this film is about.
Yeah,
so
the cover of the single has a shot from the film on it, so it must have been a proper.
So I think this wasn't just like we've written a song, put it in the film. It was like, look, here's what the film is about. Try and do that. So in the film, so it's sung from the perspective of Nicolas Cage's character in the film. If you haven't seen it, Cage plays an angel.
Yeah.
So he's sent to help humans make their transition to the afterlife. That's the concept of this. Nicolas Cage, is it one of his finest roles? Probably. I'm more of a National Treasure fan, you know that, Tom. But look, he's the problem with Nicolas Cage is that IMDb is like so long these days. There's a lot of good shit in there.
I hear he does good work in Pig, actually.
Oh, I've heard that as well. I haven't seen it, but look, I will get around to doing it. I watched Mandy though. That was good.
It's pretty fun, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. When he falls in love with a human, played by Meg Ryan, he must choose, Tom, between love, Meg Ryan, or eternal life.
Yes, the old vampire conundrum.
That sort of thing. Do you choose love or do you choose eternal life? So that's what this song's about. Do you pick that up? Did you pick that up from the lyrics or just from the general vibe?
No, but it does make sense that I've said the lyrics make more sense in that context. I'll give them credit for that. Like, they're not the worst lyrics in fact, they might be some of the better lyrics this year. And, when you put them in that context, they do make a certain kind of sense. I was going to ask you, do you think, how do you think it would affect your image of your band if a song that you did specifically for a movie soundtrack, a written to order song, became your biggest hit that you ever had? Do you reckon you'd be grateful, or do you reckon you'd always, at the back of your mind, you'd always be thinking, man, fucking all the stuff we did, that I came up with myself, and the one that's a big hit was this one that I knocked off for this movie soundtrack. I don't know. I suppose you'd be grateful for the cash, but
Yeah, it is a tough one. I think you bring that up, Tom, because the Goo Goo Dolls story is one as old as time. So it's a terrible band name. Let's get over that. But once we've done that, so they started off as sort of like a punk rock type alt rock band that sort of did some stuff. I think they've been together since the 80s, so they've sort of done of operated in that sort of they weren't really a grunge band, so they didn't really hit that sort of big time when all the grunge bands hit, but they were sort of operating in that sort of parallel alt rock, college rock sort of thing. And then, yes, you are correct, most people only know them for this one song off a soundtrack. So do you sort of say, look, it was nice to cross over into the mainstream for a bit. We probably had more people at the concerts, made a bit more cash. But we've also got this whole other body of work that no one gives a fuck about. They just want to hear this song from the film.
I mean, most people know them for this song, but they weren't a one-hit wonder.
No.
They appeared in 19 different top 10 charts around the world for, combinations of various songs. They sold 15 million albums.
It's pretty good.
Would they have achieved that success if they'd stuck with their original band name, Sex Maggots?
Oh, definitely.
Personally, I find Sex Maggots about as equally disgusting as the name Goo Goo Dolls. I don't know why. That might just be me personally. I do not like the name Goo Goo Dolls. I find it really gross.
They're equally as bad. I think that goes without saying.
But I think, I don't think you sell 15 million albums called Sex Maggots,
No, you don't. But you can sell 15 million albums called Chumbawamba, I think. So maybe you can. Or maybe I don't know if they sell that many. But
fair point.
So I'm not quite sure. So but you're right. Look, love this song from this film. Obviously, everyone does. It's I have the lyrics tattooed on my back. I would have I didn't do this at my wedding just because I knew that the whole Avril Lavigne scenario. But at my funeral, Tom, please, if I pass away before you do, please make sure they put this on that playlist.
I'd rather have this at my funeral than my wedding, I reckon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Get this on my funeral. But what I want you to do is I want you to add 160 BPMs underneath it and then play it at my funeral. I think that will sort of get people
obviously
pumped.
I'll get DJ Sammy to remix it.
Definitely.
That goes without saying.
Yep. And look, this wasn't the band's first soundtrack success. They landed a modern rock hit when the song Long Way Down was used in the 1996 film Twister. So I don't know when. I think that was that played in the film when Helen Hunt was getting sucked up in the Twister. I don't know what happened there, but look, I think that's sort of it's a great film. That's a great song as well. So look, these guys.
In the 90s, you really had to have a pop song in the film, didn't you? Even if it had fuck all to do with anything.
Absolutely
you really did. Yeah. I mean, at least this is vaguely related to the film, I guess. It's a romantic film, so you get a romantic song and it kind of matches, sort of.
Now, we've brought this up before. Is this, and I think I know the answer, Tom, but I need to ask the question, is this post-grunge?
I would say yes. In fact, I would say there's even, having lived through it and paid some attention to it, I'd say there's post-grunge, which includes this and some of the other bands from this era, such as Creed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're sort of the bands that came along to fill in Bush and so forth as the original bands were dying off. And then there's post-grunge, which is absolute horseshit, like Hinder, Nickelback, etc., that came along that make you long for these guys, where it's just people have gotten accustomed to listening to this kind of thing on MOR radio, and we need something to fill in the gaps with something that sounds like hard rock and grunge but isn't anywhere near as tough or as interesting as they were, so not quite heavy metal, not quite grunge, just sort of nothing. I like your pants around your feet, etc. Sounds macho but isn't really. It's a Canadian ex-trampolinist with a paddle pop lion mullet whining about nothing.
Look, it is funny because you obviously have the original move in any sort of genre, and we use grunge as an example here, but you've got that. Then you have sort of the bands that come immediately after that that are sort of maybe just not in the first way, but close enough to sort of be, I guess, respected or I can see what's going on there. Then you've got a group of bands after that people just assume are opportunists, just complete bullshit, we saw that was popular, we're going to jump on board. Then there's a period where people just fucking hate all that stuff and then maybe 20 years later bands come along and people are like, oh, it's a, quote, grunge revival or something like that. And then it's okay again. So
sometimes that can work. Sometimes they strip mine it and keep the good stuff and leave the Nickelback behind.
Yeah. So I think if you're doing a timeline, these guys fit into the just after the OG bit where it's okay.
Yeah, the mid to late 90s.
But as we're going to learn in the early 2000s, there's some more coming that fits into post-grunge that some may say isn't quite as good as this.
As you were saying before, I don't reckon it's fair to blame, Nickelback on Pearl Jam and Nirvana. They didn't foresee that would, that was not what they were thinking anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Look, so at the time this was released in the US, I'm talking about here, They didn't release this as a single. This was sort of that whole, let's get people to buy the album. Let's, get them to pay $20 for an album instead of like $5 for a CD single or something. It does have been
more effective than I would have thought.
Absolutely. So no one bought this as a single in the US, obviously, because it wasn't released. So it wasn't a number one there, but based just off radio play, without they must collate that in as well somehow in the US off the radio play charts. It still made not number one in the US, but still sort of got into like a top 10 or 20 sort of situation. Yeah. So but look, this song was kind of everywhere for a period of time. I remember hearing this a lot at the time. So,
lyrically speaking, I would say most people, even if they don't think that they've heard this song, even if you don't feel like you've heard the Goo Goo Dolls or you can't remember Iris, you would. If I played you the chorus right now, you would know it. I think it's the one that goes, "And I don't want the world to see me because I don't think that they'd understand when everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know who I am." Sorry, please forgive my horrible, horrible voice. I mean, I guess that makes sense in the context of a remake of Wings of Desire, but like a lot of grunge lyrics, you've got to really wrestle it onto the ground to get it to mean much.
Yep.
But it does have a kind of rhythmical, a kind of memorable quality. That's what I mean. I reckon people would remember this chorus even if they've long forgotten where they heard it,
Absolutely.
That's something. That's harder to do than it sounds,
Look, power to the Goo Goo Dolls, because they've got 8.6 million listeners on Spotify. And that's a lot more than some significantly bigger artists that I think we're talking about.
Yeah, totally.
So good on them.
They must have a lot of dad fans or a lot of
dudes. I think this is probably still getting rocked on because back in the day, people might make a mixtape for like a chick that they want to bang, in their class at school or something. I assume the modern equivalent of this is you make a playlist for some chick that you want to bang, and I assume that this just is on all those playlists. It's like
true. They could well still be touring around on the kind of 90s nostalgia tours as well,
no doubt.
Of the UK, like with no doubt, probably.
Probably, for sure. Gwen's better than this time. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but so look, that's good. So 8.6 on the Spotify.
Fucking hell, that's a lot.
75 cents to buy.
And that's the most expensive one this year too.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I think, Tom, this is a new segment of the podcast called Stocking Stuffers, and I'm saying that for 75 cents, if there's a girl, she's in your class at school, or a work colleague that you have, you sort of you don't really know how to sort of broach that. Make sure she's not married first. Definitely do that. Otherwise, this is going to get real fucking awkward. But if she is single, probably give her a copy of Iris for Christmas, 75 cents on CD single, and I think that can sort of break the ice a bit.
Sure.
And then maybe you can take her to see City of Angels at like a drive-in that plays old shitty films from the 90s or something.
Make sure she's over 35, or she's going to go, "What's this flat piece of plastic? Do I eat this? What do I do with this?"
Exactly. If the chick you have a crush on is 23, this will not work. Sorry, I should have put a disclaimer at the start. Young people do not know what CDs are. They'll be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" So there you go. Anything else to say about Iris?
No, let's move on.
Have you seen City of Angels?
No, I tried watching Wings of Desire, the old black and white one, but I was a bit mystified, as I often am, by Wim Wenders, whether I feel like, am I missing the point, or is this really boring, or both, or is that on purpose? But so I probably missed out. I think I wasn't the intended audience.
Look, I saw the music video for the Goo Goo Dolls Iris, which had a few cut scenes from City of Angels, so I feel like I've seen the whole film. So that's a good thing. You can watch you can watch the video clip for free on YouTube, and I feel like you get the whole 90-minute City of Angels experience in like sort of 4 minutes. So just do that if you want to know what the film's about. It's just him being an angel and some love story bullshit. So, okay, up next, 6th of September for 1 week, Lighthouse Family. Hi, Tom. Now, I thought I knew what this song was.
That's the first one that pops into my head, too.
And then it started playing and I realised I had no fucking idea what the hell I was talking about. I thought this was that song that goes, "She's so high, high above me, she's so lovely." But then I realised that was by Canadian singer-songwriter Ty Buckman. Whoever the fuck that is.
It was covered by some Brits in the 90s, in the Britpop era, and that was a big hit. I can't remember their names, but yeah, that is a better song than this one by some distance, I will say personally, I think. Yep. But that's called She's So High. This is just high.
Yeah, exactly. So with this one, this is by some dudes from the UK, and it's pretty fucking boring.
It is.
You feeling that? Is
hella boring.
Yeah.
The band are also boring. The most interesting thing about them is that there doesn't seem to really be anything interesting about them at all that I could find through trying to dig up. Two guys met in 93 at uni, started a band, got signed, sold some easy listening albums, broke up, reformed, did another easy listening album, and are still touring. They're not family. They don't live in the lighthouse, although listening to this song made me fucking want to move into one. But yeah, this was their biggest hit. It's 1 week in Australia, but I think they did better in the UK. They had a few top 10 hits there, but I didn't bother checking them out as this was so shit. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, look, Tom, you're right. Look, I think the fact they're called you're right. Lighthouse Family is misleading. I was deceived. I thought you're right. I
assumed they were brothers.
I assumed they were a family that probably lived in a lighthouse, and then I found out that they just weren't. They lived in London or something. And I went, well, that's bullshit. So. We've sung the other song where it's like, she's so high above me, she's so lovely. This one is, we are gonna be forever, you and me, always keep me flying high in the sky.
God almighty.
Now, I don't know whether my singing was pretty bad there. I wasn't actually trying to do it, but does anyone remember that? Probably not. Look, it sucks shit. Biggest hit in Australia. They had two other. You said that, Tom. Couple of other top 10s in the UK. But yeah, look, I don't know. The album was called Postcards from Heaven. I mean, fuck
God
that.
Damn it, that sucks.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, what do you want to call your album? Postcards from Heaven? Surely someone, either a manager of the band, the member of the band that didn't come up with that, someone at the record label, someone should have said, are you fucking sure? That's atrocious. Postcards from Heaven? I mean, this isn't a gospel thing. This isn't a Christian thing. I assume not. That's just fucked on all levels. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's friggin' terrible. But then that, as you said, the lyrics seem like the kind of thing that would be written by a band whose album was called Postcards from Heaven and it was called The Lighthouse Family. Even The Lighthouse Family is probably more interesting than the rest of the stuff. Like, I mean, you sort of covered it really, but... I mean, good news for everyone listening to this at 4 a.m. with insomnia, motherfuckers. So just lie down, turn the volume up, and listen to this. And at the end of the day, remember the days when we were close to the end and wonder how we made it through the night. At the end of the day, remember the way we stayed so close to the end. We'll remember it was me and you. Sorry, I passed out briefly because we're going to be forever, you and me, etc. God almighty. I mean, it makes you want to go back to love was when I loved you. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's fuck. It's terrible, isn't it? Look, everything about this is bad. The band name is the most exciting part. You're right. You mentioned you didn't bother checking out any of the other songs? I didn't. I just went, there's fucking no point.
No, there was another one that they played on the radio at the time, but it was equally tedious, and it was so boring.
Video clip sucked as well. I was bored by that too.
He doesn't even have... I mean, he's got a pleasant enough voice. I mean, this is really easy listening. Like... You could call it pop, soul, or something, but really it's just like elevator music. Sorry. Let's quickly move on.
2 million listeners on Spotify. Who the fuck are these people?
I don't know.
If you listen to Lighthouse Family in the last month, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. This sucks. Go listen to something else. There are better artists. Someone that needs your money. I know that Spotify artists, they need 1 billion listens to get like $25 in the mail or something, so go and listen to something else that's not this. 23 cents, that's too much. Don't waste your money on this. Go and buy that girl in the office you have a crush on, the Iris Goo Goo dolls.
One third of a Goo Goo
Look, this is cheaper, you're right, that is correct, but spend the extra 50 cents, spend that extra money, because I think it's going to pay dividends in the end. Okay, up next is... what are we up to? 13th of September, 9 weeks, Aerosmith.
9 weeks?
Nine fucking weeks. The hit of the year, biggest hit of the year.
More than twice as long as the song from Titanic.
Yep. is Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Kapow. Second movie song of the year and big hit.
Now, look.
It hits like an asteroid.
It does hit like an asteroid,
face.
Tom, because
Kapow.
this is, of course, from Armageddon.
Armageddon.
It's a story as old as time itself, isn't it?
It
the
is.
world's best driller being sent on a rocket to land on a meteor that's going to crash into Earth,
So
and he's going to detonate, drill a hole in it,
put a nuclear bomb in it,
detonate that asteroid so it doesn't crash into Earth. I mean, we've all been there. We've all sort of done. We've had to do that at least once or twice in our life, yeah, for sure. So look, one thing I will say is that look, singing a love song about your own daughter isn't as weird at all. You know, I don't really know because for those that don't know, and I assume most people do, but the lead singer of Aerosmith, his daughter. Steven Tyler, his daughter Liv Tyler, is the lead actress in this.
Yes,
so effectively,
she's a love interest.
Look, he's singing the love song about his own daughter in this. It's not weird at all, but don't worry, Steve Tyler has expressly stated in the past, in an interview, that he doesn't want to fuck her at all. So that's all good. If you may recall...
Ben, if you'll give me 1 second, I think you'll find that he said that he does want to fuck her.
True.
But that, quote, a real man knows not to go there.
Okay.
And that was in an interview he did to promote a song he wrote about a dad who fucks his daughter and gets shot in the head and chucked under a train, after which he ain't never going to be the same. As he pointed out, no, he won't, because he'll be fucking dead.
Because he's got a bullet in the brain, so they're going to be the same. So sorry, Tom, I made a mistake there. You're right. So he does want to fuck his own daughter, but he knows there's a
bad idea.
Look, he's drawn a line in the sand, and he said, fucking your own daughter is on the wrong side of that line.
We all want to do it.
We want to do it. So that's what Stephen said. He said that, but he said, look, I won't do it because, I know the line to cross. So this song at all isn't creepy at all.
No, that's
because, it's the love song he's singing effectively to his own daughter, but it's okay because he's pointed out that he knows he's a real man. He knows not what to do. So
now, to be fair, he did not write this.
No, that's
the
true.
Lyrics to this song.
But he could have interjected and said,
That's
"Wait
correct.
on one split second." So that's okay. Yep. Yeah. So look, what's the plot to the film? I mean, have I spelled it all out?
You've pretty much got it. I mean, if I recall correctly, the plot hinges on an element that requires a team of deep core drillers who work on an oil rig to get 30 years of NASA training in a week.
Oh, that's true.
And unfortunately, even that time, a lot of that is taken up not with, spinning around a centrifuge or doing practice spacewalks, but with sort of lots of Bill Murray and Meatballs style hijinks, tomfoolery and wackadoodle shenaniganry. So, there's a fair bit of that. Like a lot of Michael Bay movies, it's so silly you start to wonder if he's maybe doing it on purpose. Although you could say the same thing about Avatar, and James Cameron doesn't seem to be kidding. So, look, I don't know. It's hard to tell with those American guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
The high concept directors, are they self-aware or is it just cocaine leaking into their cerebellum via the nasal passages?
Look, is Armageddon enjoyable, cheesy shit, or is it just terrible?
It's enjoyable, cheesy shit, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Oh, look, as you said, it's a film about sending the best drilling team on the planet into space to drill into and blow up the sort of meteor.
It's a bit like Con Air in space, if you think of it like that.
Exactly. Look, I think, I've not seen it for a few years, but definitely the last time I saw it, I recall thinking, this is fun. Yeah.
You probably judged it a bit more harshly than other people would because you're the world's second best deep core driller.
I am, that's true.
That's true. So you've always had that rivalry, going, so yeah.
Absolutely right, absolutely. No, that's completely true. Look, this is written by Diane Warren.
Oh, yes, who we have discussed several times already.
I mean, she's the queen. She's the fucking queen of power ballads. Nothing's going to stop us now by Starship.
Yep.
If I could turn back time. When I See You Smile by Bad English. And look, I'd Lie for You, and That's the Truth by Meatloaf.
Oh, I see what she did there. Nice one.
So she's got a lot of sort of... Her resume is well padded.
It's nuts. As stated, she's appeared multiple times already in the last decade. Yeah,
exactly. Look, so
she couldn't be stopped.
This and Iris in the same year show that sort of even in the late 90s, a power ballad in a film is not dead.
No,
People still love that.
there was a 5-year period when your Celine Dion's and your Boys to Men basically wiped them off the map, wiped them off the charts, but now they're creeping back a little bit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely right. Look, I don't want to tell Michael Bay what to do because he's obviously a man that knows exactly what to do.
Weirdly enough, he does seem to.
With a lot of explosions and sort of, this film doesn't have anyone sort of hosing down something in a bikini, but I don't think so. I don't think Liv Tyler is forced to do that in this film. But look, my point is, I don't want to tell Michael Bay what to do. He's a genius. He knows what's up. But would this film have been better if, look, I think that sending the drilling team there to drill in and blow it up, what if they just sent Aerosmith there to sort of... So Bruce Willis still drills in, but then Aerosmith go into that sort of crevice, the sort of hole that he's sort of created, and then they've got lots of amps, and they just sort of play this song really loudly, like power ballads, and that sort of blows up the asteroid, and then they just sort of float back down to Earth.
I think you're right, but I personally was hoping that Aerosmith would destroy the asteroid by shooting low-resolution CD cases at it, like in the hit arcade game Revolution X. Do you remember Revolution X?
I do.
It had a triple light gun. It was a very high quality. It had sampled speech in it, a very high quality sample of Steven Tyler that told you that the slogan was "Music is your weapon," which was intended both metaphorically and in the sense of how you kept murdering hundreds of cunts by shooting low resolution CD cases at them, which is what you did somewhat mystifyingly. I'm not really sure what it had to do with Aerosmith, but
Oh, look, it is a great tie-in, and I think that just at the time, anyone just wanted to be involved in the video game industry, Tom, no matter how tenuous that link was. But
that's right.
U2, they were originally asked to perform this song for the film.
Oh, okay.
So, because obviously Diane Warren wrote it, they said, look, hey, U2, do you want to perform this? And then the idea for Aerosmith performing it only came up after Liv was cast, which makes it even fucking weirder.
That does seem weird,
Bro, you want to sing this song to your daughter?
Yeah. As you said, Diane Warren, she's an undeniable hit factory.
Yeah, no doubt.
And this was originally intended for Celine Dion.
Was it?
Yeah, so they must have gone Celine Dion, then they've got... Then probably Michael Bay or someone similarly genital said, hey, this is an action movie, we need someone with a dick to sing the theme song, we can't just have Celine Dion, otherwise everyone will think it's the Titanic. So then obviously Liv Tyler gets cast, Steven Tyler's at the back waving his hand frantically, not at all suspiciously wanting to sing a love song to his own daughter. But yeah, the lyrics, however, definitely sound like something that somebody wrote for Celine Dion originally, but yeah, it's all shit. Like, I could stay awake just to hear you breathing, watch you smile while you were sleeping, while you're far away and dreaming. Don't want to close my eyes, don't want to fall asleep because I'd miss you, baby, because even when I dream of you, the sweetest dream would never do. Generally speaking, I'd say don't mention falling asleep more than 18 times in a boring-ass song, for the same reason that I wouldn't keep using the words pizza and donuts in an ad for Wheat Bix.
Yeah.
A lot of scientific experts to this day now believe that the failure of the snack pack was due to the TV commercial featuring close-up shots of licorice and delicious cream buns.
Yeah, that was the fault.
Where are my 80s kids at, Ben? Oh.
Absolutely. Indeed. The snack pack was...
I mean, when a snack pack hits you... When a snack attack hits you, sorry, I should say, the only thing you can do is ride your BMX over a fence and into someone else's kitchen while a smoke machine pumps out huge clouds of smoke for some reason into the kitchen.
Snack pack's like a sort of like a yogurt thing almost, except I think you could keep it at room temperature. I don't think you had to put it in the fridge.
It was kind of goop in a cup. If you're a bit older, you might remember, what was it, Yowies? What were they?
I don't know.
Or Yogo, or any number of just goop in a cup. I think Americans call it pudding.
Yeah,
it's just kind of goop in a tub.
I used to love a snack pack. That strawberry one was.
I mean, if it wasn't for snack pack, a kid would starve. Really,
right? Exactly.
I'd probably be dead by now. If I
would certainly be dead. So absolutely. Can we bring that back? Can we get a Kickstarter happening to bring back snack pack?
Oh, I hope so.
Yep.
in my brain, the commercials for Snack Pack and Stack Hats have merged together through some sort of homonym word magic. Anyway.
I feel like Pop Ball should be in there as well. I recall those. I don't know. It seems like a similar era.
Sorry, that's enough about how old I am.
16 million people.
I believe that. They had eras. They had a 70s audience and an 80s audience and a 90s audience, and there'll be dad rock till the sun explodes. So,
for sure, if you've got audience, and here's the thing as well, you've got different audiences over that decade because you've sort of mixed your music up a bit over the time. So, yeah, absolutely. So there's dudes that love the sort of 80s Aerosmith that probably couldn't give two fucks about this, but that's fine. Yeah. They just listen to that. So, someone else listens to this. So, 16 million, 47 cents for this. Good times. Fantastic. Moving on. We're up next.
Moving on, yes, please.
Cool. Up next, 22nd of November for 2 weeks. B... star hash whatever.
It's supposed to be bewitched, but
bewitched.
B asterisk
witched with Roller Coaster. Now, Tom, if All Saints are a poor man's Spice Girls, then Bewitched are clearly a poor man's All Saints.
God, I'd chuck a few other people in that sandwich before you get to Bewitched. I'm regretting committing to them even as a joke earlier on in this episode, which I only did because of the ridiculous spelling of their name. But this makes the Spice Girls sound like a cross between Jermaine Greer and L7.
Yeah, correct.
This is just bollocks.
This is fucking terrible. Look, formed by twin sisters and their brother, not in this group, but the brother was in Boyzone.
Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
Imagine, look,
Boyzone are like the Bewitched to take that.
Yeah. For sure.
East 17, Jesus.
I can only imagine how fucking irritating that house must have been for their parents while the kids are growing up. Just like one dude, like the twins going like, the sisters going, and then the brother going, and it's like, I want to be in boys. Oh, fuck, I'm going to be a boy band. Like, just
practicing.
Imagine you go around to Christmas at their house on Christmas Day, and it's just sort of, I just want to eat some turkey or something, and the kids are just like, I'm going to perform a song, and everyone's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And it would just be hours upon hours of the kids performing some bullshit Christmas songs going, for fuck's sake. And then, just everyone, let's just sit back and relax and let them do their things. And they're pretty obnoxious, super pretentious and annoying. And then 5 years later, it's like, oh, fuck, they've made it into this shitty, girl groups or whatever. So, look, I find this to be, not as good as All Saints. But
I know. It sounds dumb, but for some reason I remember this being like a little bit catchier than it was. I think I only heard it a couple of times even at the time, but it's just like, I mean...
Look, what I do like, Tom, is in the music video, which is one of my favourite things, there's 4 members of the Bewitched, and what they're doing is they're all wearing different types of denim.
Yeah.
So one has a denim vest, denim hat, one has a denim jacket, one has the vest done up, and another has it undone with a t-shirt underneath. And one has her name, like, bedazzled on the back. Yeah. And sort of also in the video clip, it's like they're flying out into space across the different planets. So it sort of really looks like that the music video was concocted by the marketing department of Just Jeans while on DMT. That's sort of the vibe that I'm getting. Like,
it's a bit like that. Man, I know what you mean. It's just kind of mystifying. There's a fucking low-key line dancing breakdown with a fiddle in the middle. Like the double denim, I don't know if that's another 6 years too late boot scooting reference or just some Irish bollocks, and I refuse to find out, frankly. I would rather hear My Lovely Horse by Father Ted on repeat for 3 hours than this song, like, man alive.
Yeah.
Now, and there's another element which is kind of weird to it as well. Like, they were a bit older by the time this band was getting filmed. They were a bit older than your average girl group when they first formed.
Yeah.
And also the record company had already decided that they were going to target them at a even younger audience than the audience of your average Spice Girls audience.
Okay.
So the sort of contrast between them just looking a bit older than they probably should for this video and this music, like the start of the music is then like waving at a bunch of 10-year-olds before they fly off into space. Like, Yeah, they did their first live gig playing C'est La Vie at a primary school. Like, that was their target market, and it got to number 1 in the UK. So, hey,
okay.
you know, but I'm just saying it makes the video seem even sadder. Like, I don't know.
Look, what's worse, this or that fucking boot scooting baby song from before?
That is a real Sophie's choice of...
It is, yeah. It is. It's a race to the bottom.
Except when you want both of the children to get, you know, run over by a truck.
It is tough. I mean, that Step song is one of the worst songs I've ever heard. But
it's as bad as that metaphor I just used.
Yeah, look, it's okay, Tom. It's okay. So, as you mentioned, C'est La Vie, primary school, number 1. Actually, their first 4 singles are each number 1 in the UK. Because that country, they're fucking crazy. They don't know what they're doing. But the string of number 1s was only broken when the single Thanks ABBA for the Music performed as a duet with Steps and Billy only reached number 4 on the charts. So it was from an ABBA themed something soundtrack or whatever. So
I can imagine ABBA getting that phone call and going, "No, we're right. We're good. Don't thank us. We'll call you," and hanging up the phone.
Exactly. Does this have any good lyrics?
You'll be surprised to hear that it does. No, it actually doesn't. The lyrics are things like, come on, get it on. We're riding in a roller coaster. Come on, come along, get it on. We're riding in a roller coaster of love.
Good.
This song licks balls. Listen to Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players instead. That fucking rules.
Yep.
That's definitely worth a listen.
Oh, look, at least the lyrics are true to the title, that it does feature them in a roller coaster. So I think that's sort of, you know, you get what you pay for, Tom. So you look at that and just go, what's this song called, Roller Coaster? What's it about? It's about getting in a roller coaster.
Sure.
Look, you know, I can't be angry with that, you know.
No.
So money well spent. 800,000 on the Bewitched. That's low on the low side, which is probably what I expected. Still too high for me, honestly. That's a lot of people. But... you know, I assume that perhaps this might be on a playlist of like most dog shit songs of the 90s that people put on ironically, so the players still count, and 2 cents on that one, which is fair enough. So, 2 weeks on that. So, coming up next, 6th of December for 2 weeks also, Jennifer Page, Crush.
Yes.
Yep. Now, I should point out straight off the bat that her real name isn't Jennifer Page. It's Jennifer Page Scoggins.
Now, why would you change that?
I don't know, Tom. Do you think Crush would have been as successful if she'd released it under the name Jenny Scoggins?
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with you. We'll never know, though.
Sorry.
Yeah. What about the name Snoop Dogg?
Skog
Dog.
Snoop Skoggy Dog.
Skog Dogs.
Yeah, definitely. Skog Dog's got a real ring to it.
Exactly.
Skog
right.
Dog and the Sex Maggots, I reckon.
With
Crush.
Definitely.
On the Dawson's Creek soundtrack.
Yeah, look, I think if she gets, you know, back to performing, she should really consider Skog Dog as a sort of as a rap name. So, because she could rap this song, I think, sort of bring it into a sort of new era. I think so. Look,
she could. Yeah,
at the age of 5, she began singing at the local coffee house and restaurants with her older brother Chance. Now, if I was having a coffee at a coffee shop and a 5-year-old kid started singing, I would leave and I would never return. I'd also take to social media and tell people never to go to that coffee shop as there's a child singing there.
Oh, God.
I couldn't think of anything more obnoxious than walking into it. I mean, look, fortunately we live in cosmopolitan Melbourne where there's a good coffee shop on every second corner. But, you know, some cities don't have that luxury. Some cities only have one good coffee shop. Imagine you walked in there and you sit down to have your flat white or your cappuccino or whatever it is. And there's a 5-year-old child in there just going, I'd be like, fuck that. I mean, I've heard my kids sing. They're terrible. I can't imagine that Jennifer Page at 5 would have been any better than that. No. So, Jesus Christ, that's you know, appalling. Look, there have been claims that this was written for Joey Fatone.
For Joey Fatone or by Joey Fatone? For
Joey Fatone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, sorry. Yep. Sorry, by for, I mean in terms of apparently she was allegedly dating.
Okay.
Yeah, not for
He's
him
the
to sing
subject.
it.
Sorry, no, that's my fault. That's a dumb thing.
So claims that it was written for Joey Fatone of NSYNC as they were rumoured to be dating at this time. So
seems a bit
there's that rumour, but it's all been denied. So I don't know. So I'm not quite sure about that. What we'll do, Tom, is we'll launch a separate investigative journal type podcast that just focuses on this Joey Fatone, Jennifer Page, or Skog Dog crush sort of thing. It'll be like a 6 sort of part thing. We'll interview them both. We'll sort of talk to friends and family, dig into the archive, so to speak, and see if we can find out the rumours of was Crush by Skog Dog written about Joey Fatone. That'll have an audience of about 2 people. So maybe those 2 Finnish dudes that listen to this might be interested, but we'll wait and see. So, yeah, absolutely. So, look, I don't know about the lyrics to this, but I see you blowing me a kiss, and it doesn't take a scientist to understand what's going on, baby.
Fair point, I guess.
Yeah, look, I don't know what science she's referring to specifically. Scientist is a very broad term, Tom. It could refer to a lot of things. Particle physics, exactly. Could have to do with absolutely anything. But I don't really know what branch of science actually researches or investigates or sort of looks at sort of the whole blowing of kisses sort of type thing. Like what I understand though. Maybe it is sort of like like how does matter travel? If I do the and then blow that kiss, is any kiss is something travelling through the air to the recipient?
Perhaps.
Is it back to this quantum physics thing that we talked about before, Tom? I don't really know.
I mean, she might possibly be saying that Joey Fatone's no rocket scientist.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, absolutely.
Like he's hot, but he's not into the quantum sciences.
Look, it certainly doesn't take it doesn't take a scientist to understand what's going on here. It's Jennifer Page. She's got a crush on some dude. The video clip is her just on a swing for like 3 minutes.
I know what you mean. It's very simple. Lots of close-ups of faces, some driving around in a car stuff. Something about it felt very similar, and I kept thinking, was this song on Dawson's Creek soundtrack? Was this song on the Dawson's Creek soundtrack?
Probably was.
But then I realised what made me kept thinking of Dawson's Creek, apart from the sort of vibe, is that she looks a little bit Jason Van Der Beeky, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's got a kind of 90s sort of blonde, shorter fringe, and I reckon there's a touch. She's a bit eyebrow heavy stuff. No, I'm not paying her out. She's very attractive. She also looks a bit like Delta Goodrem, for instance.
Yep.
But I think the slight Dawson Leary-ish cast to her face, combined with the fact that this sounds like it could totally be on that soundtrack. So, yeah.
Look, there's 2 things. Either she and James Van Der Beek are the same person, Janet and Michael Jackson style. There's either that. That's one thing. Or she's modelled herself to look like him, just for this as well. I mean, there's all kinds of options.
What I mean to say is you could take this exact video clip, swap her out, and swap Katie Holmes in, except without her mouth moving, and just have the lyrics over the top, and it could just be a commercial for the new season of Dawson's Creek.
Sure. Look, I don't know what Jennifer Page is up to these days, but I hope that she made a significant sum of money off this and she's just sort of relaxing, chilling out, having a good time. Some other lyrics, Tom. I see the light, oh what a light, and I am sober. All that you serve to me, no longer will I drink it in.
I think that might be from
the follow-up single. Yep, not from this.
Yeah, no, that's all right. It doesn't quite fit in, that's all.
No, that's okay. But
what the hell does that mean?
I've got no idea.
Perhaps she was just coming out of AA. Maybe that's what she's been doing for the last 30 years.
Exactly. But yeah, look, the record label pulled that trick of releasing a greatest hits album after only 2 studio albums from Jennifer Page.
As you've pointed out, that's always a good sign.
And look, we know that a savvy shopper can usually find both albums at a used music store or on eBay for significantly less than the greatest hits compilation. We're not falling for that trick, record label.
No, we're not.
I guess the biggest question though, Tom, is did you have a crush on Jennifer Page?
No, but like pop stars winner Scott Kane, I did have a crush on Hilary Duff. which is why I'm still not legally allowed near playgrounds anymore, because I believe she was 16 when he wrote that song. So
yeah, look, I don't think will we get to talk about Scott Cain later. I fucking hope
I'm
so,
sure
yeah.
when he gets to the first of his many #1 chart appearances.
Yeah, definitely.
I think even Scott Cain has forgotten that he was on television at this point.
Oh, exactly right. But yeah, you're right. I've got a crush on Hilary Duff. When you're like a 25-year-old dude writing a song about a 16-year-old, it's pretty creepy. So I don't really know. Yeah, good times. Love that guy. Lyrical highlights for this.
Well, despite the fact that this was not written by Jennifer, it was written by Fuigi Niho, e.g. 4 white guys you've never heard of. I think this is pretty good, actually. Again, especially held up against the standards of 1998. Looking back at some of the female-centric pops songs we've covered this decade and going well into the current one, I would say that the message here is one of the sort of healthier ones that a teenager could be absorbing. Like, what do you reckon? You know, thinking back to when I was a teenager anyway, it's just a little crush, etc. That's the chorus. It's just a little crush. It's not like everything I do depends on you. So let it be what it'll be. Don't make a fuss and get crazy over you and me. Here's what I do. I'll play it loose. It's not like we have a date with destiny.
Yep.
Now, judging from my teenage years at least, that message would have been healthier than options like A, the Dawson's Creek, wasp-tastic, let's get married at 19, our feelings are so real bullshit. Or B, the emo metal glam meatloaf message of tonight's the most important night in the world, tomorrow the apocalypse takes us all, please let me finger blast you in the back of my Datsun 120B. Or C, the current Gen Z, you should be able to fuck me like a porn star in a blinged out limo by the age of 16 standard.
Yep.
You know, that's all bullshit. And as you realise as soon as you get past the age of about 25, it's probably just a little crush. Also, if you listen to this when you were 18, you might have also noticed that crush rhymes with thrush.
Yeah, it does.
Which is not a bad message for the kids either, I'm just saying.
And look, I think Jennifer Page, she used a lot of maturity to not include crush. She could have put that in there. It's just a little crush, you know, we'll bang and then I'll probably have the thrush. So but she didn't do that. So I think that sort of shows, you know, maturity beyond her years, which is fantastic. Now, Tom, I won't say that it necessarily pains me to say this, but this is probably the best #1 of the year.
I was going to say,
and that's not because I necessarily love this song, but there's been so much fucking garbage.
I'd certainly say I think these are probably my favourite lyrics of the year. I reckon.
Definitely. So
they're not complicated, but it just that makes absolute
song of the year
sense.
for Jennifer Page. Congratulations, because just having a bit of a flip through the other stuff, there's a lot of fucking hot garbage in there. So, and look, I'm not going to choose Iris because I think it's just too that's the other one.
It's the kind of thing that Avril Lavigne would play at her wedding. That's what kind of song it is.
Exactly. So look, Jennifer Page, if you're listening to this, jump on. We'd love to interview you for when Tom and I effectively run out of ideas and need to do an interview podcast. We love those. I just love those podcasts where there's only 10,000 of them where people interview people and shit. It's really fun. So come on and we'll talk about Crush. It'll be great. So 2 weeks of that, and then 13th of December, Tom. You got anything else to say about this?
No.
Quickly, 600,000 on Spotify, 16 cents. There you go. Final #1 of the year. This is 6 weeks. This is The Offspring, Tom. Pretty fly bracket for a white guy in bracket.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
Again, that's 2 weeks more than my heart will go on. Fuck.
Yep. Now, this has to be one of the worst of the decade.
Well, I don't hate this as much as you do, but please, go on. I'm not saying it's good by any means.
Look,
I wouldn't put this above Crush by Jennifer Page.
Look, I will say this, Tom. I was never a big Offspring fan at the time when they were around. But look, what I will say is that obviously, you know, that SoCal, Southern Californian punk sort of scene, it had really sort of taken hold, I guess, by this stage, mid to late 90s. Punk's had a lot of boom and bust cycles over the years. By that I mean sort of 70s punk, late 70s, that 77 Sex Pistols type thing, and then, you know, that sort of lasted very short period of time, and then sort of throughout the 80s, you know, you Ramones and various things like that, and then into the 90s, you got sort of more pop punk, Blink-182 type stuff, Green Day, this sort of Southern California type thing. But look, these guys were on Epitaph, independent record label. They had a lot of success with the album Smash.
That was huge.
So that peaked at number 4 in the US Billboard 200.
Come Out and Play on it.
Yep.
It had Self-Esteem on it. It had a bunch of other
Heaps of stuff.
Yeah.
And look, that sold, and I remember hearing that going to various parties when I was a kid.
Yeah, that was massive.
Everyone seemed to have that album. It sold 11 million copies worldwide, which makes it, to this day, the best-selling album released by an independent record label. Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
So Epitaph, that was released on that, and fortunately they've been able to use the money from the sales of The Offspring to release albums that are probably, even to this day, I know, you'll see bands that are on that label that are probably not commercially massive, but, obviously they're probably still rocking out on the money that they earned like $1 billion years ago. Yeah. So look, that's super impressive. Didn't hate that album at all. Smash.
No,
I know a heap of the songs.
Rad.
People, still
exactly. Like one of my favourites.
Yeah, for sure. So one of those things. As a teenager growing up, you'd go to a party, someone would throw that on. Not mad at that at all. Quite enjoy it. But so after that 11 million, and they had that. They were able to sign to a major label.
Yep.
So obviously someone went, fucking hell, 11 million on an independent. Let's get some marketing behind this and push it a bit more, see what we can do. They released Ixnay on the Hombre, which still had sort of a bit of a punk, some songs on there, sort of mixed it around a little bit. Once again, not the biggest fan, so I can't say I know it super well, but definitely know some of the songs. So I would say that some of the fans, the hardcore fans, might have been, felt a bit slighted by this song, which, to put it politely, I think is objectively terrible.
Oh, definitely. Ixnay on the Hombre was a much wackier album than Smash.
Yep.
Which had more sort of, some of the songs had funnier lyrics, but there was a lot of sort of political stuff on there too. You kind of a bit more in the vein of the other punk that was around at the time. Like I'm struggling to think of any. Who's that people that did 21st Century Digital Boy? Those guys. I don't know. Sort of politically active kind of stuff. And then they got a lot jokier and a bit more punky and that sort of thing. And I'm sure a lot of people did not like that very much. But yeah. People such as yourself, but yeah, I don't know.
Look, I think the "Give it to me, baby," must be one of the most annoying vocal lines of. I'm going to say this year, but what I really mean is the whole decade.
Put that up against "Come On, Barbie, Let's Go Party."
The thing is, though, they're even in my mind. They're equally as obnoxious. No. But you got to remember that this band used to have some sort of dignity and respect by people.
Yeah.
So for me, Aqua was sort of they started from a low position. And, whereas these guys sort of started off where people sort of went, you're a legitimate sort of successor to a genre of music that's had a long, let's face it, the sort of SoCal punk thing and the sort of original Sex Pistols style punk. There's absolutely nothing whatsoever in common. It's just that the name punk has somehow sort of continued on, despite the fact that the reality is that none of this modern stuff is in any way related to that.
Especially when you're on a major label and you're making glossy music videos and all that sort of shit. Yeah,
punk still exists. It just sort of, for my mind, wasn't sort of really this sort of thing. But, their other album, like the sort of, when they were on independent labels, at least they were sort of, it's sort of when I say punk, it's sort of, just sort of, alt rock kind of, I guess. Like it was sort of adjacent-ish to sort of, some of the other stuff that was happening at the time.
No, that's right. Green Day sort of blurred in with, the grunge sound at the time, with the sort of raw guitar punk influenced sound, even though they weren't grunge, obviously. But but they were kind of trying to aim at something a bit more edgy than this type of shit.
Yeah, definitely. And so, look, I find that bit to be super annoying, the Give It To Me Baby part. The whole song sucks. It's obviously, the song's about mocking posers, I think, sort of that, that people that are sort of behaving in a certain way, when they're trying, something that they're not really. But and it
Wiggins, as we used to call them. I'm sure that word's probably out of fashion.
I think it's probably banned now. But yeah, look, I know it's not to be taken too seriously, But you can do that. I think you can write a song about mocking poses that shouldn't be taken too seriously, and you can do that in a manner that doesn't make you want to throw yourself into an active volcano. So, which this song does.
Yeah, I mean,
look,
I don't hate this as quite as much as you do, but I am happy to admit that a lot of punk songs do set out to answer the question, seemingly, why don't more songs be funnier? With the answer, because it only works if you're actually funny, really. Like Dave Chappelle once said that every rock star wants to be a comedian and every comedian wants to be a rock star. But yeah, I mean, in terms of funny, funny punk songs, there's an awful lot of Pretty Fly and Clams Have Feelings Too for every I Got an Ape Drape by the Vandals. It's not as easy as it sounds, frankly. Yeah.
Exactly. Look, music video was directed by G. You remember that guy?
Yes. Yeah.
What's he been up to since making Charlie's Angels Full Throttle?
I think he lets thousands of people play cricket inside him.
He does.
I'm thinking of the Melbourne Cricket Ground because their names are spelled exactly the same way.
Stylised exactly the same. So
that was a terrible joke. I apologise.
That's why we don't do jokes on this show, Tom.
Late. It's late in the year.
Yeah, look, this was fortunately the band's last number one.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have to talk about them anymore. But they did have another top 10 hit song with in Australia, Tom, with one of my other favourites, Original Prankster.
Oh, God.
If you remember that, which is
this song
worse than this or as bad.
This song was number one on Triple J, which was, it's like the alternative radio station in Australia, their annual Hottest 100, which is a sort of fairly closely followed event with a fair bit of build-up and what happened is what frequently happens is you get 99 fairly decent songs and then 2 weeks before the countdown closes a novelty song comes out and every teenager votes for the novelty song and it ends up being number one.
Oh, exactly.
So then when you look back at this supposedly respectable musical competition from 20 years later you go, that was number one? Really?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so the reputation of the whole radio station suffers just because of how, novelties work.
Did this hit high on the Hottest 100 for this
Yeah, I think it was
time?
That's what I mean,
okay,
because it came out 3 weeks before.
Yeah. So there's the crossover, exactly.
They didn't release it like that on purpose. They don't give a shit about the Hottest 100. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that happens with novelty songs sometimes.
It is funny how sort of old cunts are sort of like today going, the Hottest 100, the big songs are just the same as the pop charts. But the reality is, I think you go back now 20 years and it's sort of the same thing, like the number one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The number one song on the Hottest 100 was also a number one song just on the mainstream charts.
Sometimes,
well. Not always.
I'm a little bit surprised that this was, 6 weeks at number one.
Yep.
I mean, it is catchy, whether you like it or not. It has that quality, but, anyway. I guess this shows that people were still buying CD singles at this time.
Look,
good on cunts.
Look, I don't know. We've had this argument before. Well,
sure.
Not the argument, but discussion. But is the punkest thing you can do as a punk band to be real punk to do the complete opposite thing that people would think a punk band should do, which is to release a dog shit novelty song? So does that mean Offspring if Offspring had released a punk song, doing this, which is a shitty novelty song, is punker because people don't expect that? Or is that just an argument that gets you nowhere because it makes almost no sense?
It's interesting, that question. I know the one you mean. Chuck Klosterman had a theory that him and his friend, I can't remember what it was called, they had a name for it, but it was this theory that the coolest thing you could do in a situation, like when people are waiting for a band to what the band's going to do next single or whatever, the coolest thing you can do is not the thing that people are expecting you to do again, or the thing that is the opposite of what people are expecting you to do, but a lateral sideways thing. So the coolest thing that the Offspring could have done theoretically now is to release an album of, I guess, lo-fi bossa nova songs, that they recorded up a mountain in Nepal or something like that, because that's the thing that nobody would expect. Yep. But it's also not the opposite of a punk song either.
Yep.
As you say, the opposite of a punk song is kind of a shitty commercial novelty song, which is what this is. Yeah, so what happens if you do this is that all the punk fans hate you, and the dorks who buy novelty songs like it for 2 weeks and then throw it away, and
yeah, absolutely. Look,
but you still get a 6-week number one in Australia for whatever the fuck that's worth.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I personally think this is fucking total garbage.
Oh, sure.
And but that's just
me.
Many
people agree with this,
and that's fine. So look, we can agree to disagree, Tom. I know you've got the lyrics tattooed on your arm, but that's okay. 12 mil.
12 mil. Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot.
Cents. Which is okay. Lyrics. What have you got for me?
Oh,
apart from "Give It to Me, Baby." I
don't hate. It used to make me laugh. He's getting a tattoo. He's getting ink done. He asked for a 13, but they drew a 31. I like to imagine, like in the video clip, it implies that they did that on purpose because he's a dickhead.
Yep.
But yeah, and I don't hate the line "The world needs wannabes." Because it actually does, like that. For our Western cyborg civilization to progress, we need dorks to buy gadgets that don't work very well so that they can evolve into the technology that everyone else uses without thinking about it. There wouldn't be a fashion industry if people didn't bother trying to copy other people who look better than them. And Elvis Costello once said that the history of pop music is people trying to copy each other and getting it slightly wrong. So, yeah, but that's not something you hear in lyrics very much, because mostly lyrics are either about being cool or about being uncool, and not very much about just being a big old posery tryhard.
Fair enough.
Even though they are mocking him. It would be ballsier if he was talking about himself and just making himself out to be a big... That would be more punk than just picking on some random made-up dude that they've got. Anyway.
Absolutely. Look, I think... I don't know, but I assume the Offspring are still going these days. Have they sort of... Yeah, well, look, that's...
I like to think that him and the lead singer of Smash Mouth are keeping the frosted tip head gel market, going in this hard times.
What is the sort of, in terms of sort of like underground cred to mainstream sort of, I guess, dismay, is this sort of Smash with those songs you talked about, Come Out and Play, etc., to this, it's obviously a drop in quality.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Is that sort of comparable to, say, a Master of Puppets to load or reload type scenario?
Yeah, it sort of seems like that. I'm sure I wasn't really invested in them enough to think that they'd sold out at the time, but as you said, I'm sure a lot of people who really liked them would have thought that at the time, especially when they turned on the TV and saw this glossy, primary coloured McGee video about this dork bopping around, with like hip hop samples in it and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So look, that's it for the year. This is, I don't know, I don't think this is a first. I'm assuming this has happened before, but we had no Australian number ones this week.
Oh yeah,
all international artists. So there you go. It's probably happened before, but I just thought that was a note. So the biggest songs from Australian artists this year was Second Solution, Prisoner of Society by the Living End.
Well, there was a punk band who did maintain a bit of their integrity.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably by being from Australia and therefore never being in danger of selling out.
For sure, exactly. Buses and Trains by Bachelor Girl. Torn by Natalie and Brulia. That was a huge hit.
I'm kind of surprised that wasn't number one.
Yeah. So, and then songs which peaked at number 2 that we didn't get to talk about, unfortunately, but we're pretty close. As Long As You Love Me by the Backstreet Boys. Yep. That's great. Torn by Natalie and Brulia.
Oh, it's okay. It was number 2.
Fuel by Metallica. Yep. Give me fuel, give me fire. Something other bullshit.
Song off the load.
Ghetto Superstar.
Yep.
Old Dirty Bastard showed up again on that one. I wonder if you got any bags or sort of clothes or accessories from that. Viva Forever by the Spice Girls. Fantastic. Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day, which got played at every sort of Levers thing for about the next 4,000 years.
The song from the last episode of Seinfeld, Although, it's not actually in the episode or anything, so fuck knows what connection that had, really.
There was another Aqua song, Lollipop, which fortunately only made it to number 3. So, Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica, which is fantastic. And what else have we got there? Some other, I don't know, Bachelor Girl. Some more bullshit from Steps.
Oh, God. Under
the Bridge by All Saints, as we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah. Ray of Light by Madonna. That was another...
Oh, yeah.
That was her coming back into a new era, which was her more sort of techno-y era. She found some new producers and decided to reinvent herself as EDM now, so that's the kind of start of that.
That's good. Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Big Mistake. By Natalie Imbruglia.
Oh, Walking on the Sun by Smash Mouth. Sorry, Walking on the Sun.
Fuck.
Oh my God! Did you see that recent thing of him performing live?
Smash Mouth, no.
Oh, you've got to see it.
Check it out.
Pretty great.
Terrible? Yeah, I can only imagine it's pretty bad.
Just visibly shit-faced and hating everyone.
Good. Crush on You by Aaron Carter, who's sort of like he's a precursor to the Bieber, I think, the young kid getting up
he
there.
was a child star, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's about it. So look, fantastic. So a lot of hits. Actually, some weeks I find that those ones that didn't quite make it are better than what's in the actual
absolutely.
charts. And I think it's safe to say that this week there's a couple in there that could be the same, because this was a pretty poor year overall. I don't know what the Australian public were doing, whether drugs or just alcohol abuse, or I don't know.
There was a lot of sort of more interesting other stuff, non-top 10 stuff. Or close stuff that didn't quite get there. But yeah, as you say, the actual top 10 list is getting pretty dire at this point.
Absolutely. So look, that's it. We'll be back next week with 1999, the last year of the millennium. So it's pretty exciting to know what people were getting excited for.
You'd think they'd just be playing Prince all year, wouldn't they?
Well, I think so, but we'll find it, because I've got a feeling that DJs on that midnight 1999, 31 December, what will they be playing? We'll find out, I guess, because we'll find out next week, because I have a feeling that whatever was like the number one song at that time probably would have got a fair workout, I guess, around that sort of time. So we'll find out what that is. So yeah, I mean, we all know the new millennium didn't actually start until 1st of January 2001, but people just sort of forgot
we all
that.
Just chose.
We just went, fuck that. Let's just go with 2000. So it's all good. So thank you. I'm Ben, and
I'm Tom.
And see you next week. And we do have a Spotify thing. No, sorry, not Spotify.
Instagram. And a YouTube.
YouTube with the playlist on there, and the Spotify. You can just listen to it on Spotify. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, and the Instagram is Sunglasses at Night Podcast, where I'll post like a photo of something fucking stupid, and who cares? But whatever. Thanks.
Okay, see ya.